still staying for talk? No? Offender in custody?
Good evening, everybody. And you gotta love StreamYard, always bugging, right? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for hopping in. Appreciate you. We've got a special show tonight. As the title shows, we're going to be going over the dot conversation. It happened, I think it was July 31st or something like that when the conversation took place. It was very interesting. Interesting few days that that we went through, not only myself when it came to everything. Whew. It was crazy though. I knew Dot was coming. Wasn't having it, you know. I can join the I can run a voice changer, but I can't join a panel. You know? I was like, look, come on, quit playing around. Now, we're going to show the whole conversation because I know that there's a lot of, well, there's one, I'll just say. There's one video out there that kind of twisted the conversation in a way. It's the whole reason why I left the video up this whole time, honestly, because even the next day, I even stated after that. Otherwise, it'd be down, and I probably still wouldn't be getting messages to this day or comments about how it's believable. But if you just listen to the conversation, you listen to, I'm not going to say the questions of the panel members, because I feel like some of those questions from them were kind of leading into more of the BS. I was trying to get it to the point, ask some questions, get it out there, talk more, because this person had been coming, if you guys remember. This person had been coming around a lot of the YouTube shows there just a week or two before ours. And they were saying little things here and there. It was nothing like as in depth as it was, I feel, as it was on our show. And we already knew Dot was coming. And it was one of those shows where it's like, all right, let's get Dot up here. Let's get Dot on panel. Let's get Dot's words, saying everything. Let's just get it all out there on this show, right? And then that kind of wore off. I was trying to, you'll see it as we watch it tonight. I was trying to be cool as shit, but then at just one point, it just got to be so much. I just couldn't, and you'll see. I'm just like, come on. I couldn't even hide it no more, really. But we went on a show the next day. I was invited on panel because if you guys do remember, even in chat, there was people saying this person's been on other YouTube shows. If you guys watch the chat replay from that episode, you'll see this person's all over YouTube. They're saying you gotta let them on, and I'm like, you guys, it's a troll. No. Why not? Let's have Dot up there, So I'm gonna say what's up to everybody. We're gonna have a little message to get into the show, and I'm gonna introduce two beautiful souls that I think have a great mind for the true crime community. We'll be having them on the show tonight, and I'm excited. To have them both on the show. I think that the way that they look and approach, and they're about the truth and justice while exploring all thoughts, theories, and opinions. That's what we are, and that's what we do, and that's just what we want to exist in. And so it's, to me, very special. And if you haven't subbed to Swamp Rose, please do. There's the link right there. You won't be disappointed. You'll see all theories, thoughts, and opinions explored with the mind of truth and justice. I think you'll definitely be excited if you're not a sub already. So we'll go ahead and get into the show. Latitude, ticket number 1. Thank you. Appreciate you. Dot's testimony, right? I was like, you know what? Let's just play the real one. Even after TCD came out with that manipulation, I would say, of a conversation, because this is why it's important. This is the real conversation. This is the conversation that's unedited, unclipped. And you'll see that the story, yes, the music that's put to it and how it was a beautiful edit. It was a channel that I totally supported until that video came out. Then after that, I just had to back away because I'm like, the real conversation's right there. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it was hidden. The real conversation was right there. So if anybody did listen to the whole conversation, I think you'll come away, and maybe not. I think you'll come away with where I was coming from, even on that live stream. If this is the story that would turn the PCA into a McDonald's wrapper that you throw in the garbage, they wouldn't be on YouTube. They wouldn't be talking. Ann Taylor would have whoever it was in a penthouse suite getting pampered. Don't go anywhere. You are the gem for the trial. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to play a couple other things too, but I think we're going to get into the conversation right away as we get into it. And thank you, Swamp Rose. I appreciate you for joining. And Gia coming here shortly as well. So let's get to those hellos. Good evening, Kib Kitty. Ticket number 6. Detective you know YouTube. It's always buggy. Ticket number 6. Somebody's gonna have something in between. Jacqueline. Ticket number 9. Thank you. Echo. Golden ticket number 10. Aaliyah. Lucky ticket number 11. Thank you for hopping in, Aaliyah. Katrina. Ticket number 12. Thank you. Yoli. Ticket number 13. What's up? Skittles. Hello. Echo. And let's see here. Caddy. We got Caddy. Appreciate you. Kelly Miller. Golden ticket number 18 with the love and peace and the smiles. Diana. Good evening to you as well with the hearts floating off. And we got Jackie with the hearts floating off in the name. Good evening to you. Appreciate you. 49er Girl. Ticket number 25. I'm going to try and get through these as quick as I can. D. Marie. Ticket number 22. I don't want to delay the guest as much. Let me see. Golden ticket number 33, Nevada. Thank you for hopping in. Mark and Betty. Ticket number 38. All right. Appreciate that. Look at all those likes so far. Appreciate you. Amy, how are you? And we got ticket 38, Megan Z. Oh, you know YouTube. What's up, Bathory over there on Swamp Rose? Thank you for hopping in and saying hi. Typically unique. Ticket number 41. Anybody that doesn't know, I call out ticket numbers. So anybody that comes in my show and hits the like button, that's their ticket number, and I'm here to serve you. So just like when you go to the DMV or something and you pull that little ticket and they say ticket number 42, it's because I serve you. So that's what the ticket number is. Anybody that doesn't know that might be new to the show. What's up, Thomas? How are you? Anybody does have any information, you can send it right here. What's up, Deb? I'm a 5, ticket number 7. Who is Dot? Well, you're going to find out tonight. If you didn't know who Dot was, you'll know tonight. And this is an episode from July 31st, last summer. AG, ticket number 44. Thank you for everything that you do for the True Crime community out there on YouTube and Twitter or X. What's up, K? BK is innocent? I don't know. I don't drink at that water cooler. I would love to, because I would love to be able to be the first one to tell you who's doing what before it happens. You know what I'm saying? Diana, ticket number 21. I would love to be at that water cooler. Bianca, ticket number 9. We got Danny. I'd be number 51. Thank you. Lynn T, ticket number 43. What's up, Mike, over there? Yeah, we're going back to July 31st. What's up? What's up, Sasha? And tomorrow we got another special show tomorrow. Sasha, ticket number 55. Bianca, ticket 54. What's up, Tandy? We got a special show tomorrow. We're going to be going into a conversation where this was November 29th, 2022, just a couple weeks after the crime took place. And we're going to be watching an old episode of mine where Valerie hops on the panel. And wow, what a conversation we were having, because there was talk about the what's up, Cheryl? There was talk about ticket 30, Mary. Talk about the report for the intoxicated person at the Moose Lodge. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, we talked about this like a couple weeks after the crime took place. And so I found the episode, and then me and some of the mods last night were watching it. We were like, ooh, we got to play this one. So I'm like, yeah, we're going to go vintage CJ tomorrow. We'll be having Silky Southern Tea on the show tomorrow, too. Upstate New York. What's up? Space Junkie, ticket number 57. Yeah, we'll be having Silky Southern Tea again tomorrow morning. And Coon, ticket number 17. And Nothing Half-Assed, ticket 61. Rhonda, ticket 54. Yeah, we're going to find out who Doc is tonight. Yeah, I saw that. AG, thank you. I retweeted that as well. Thank you so much. It is something we're going to get into tomorrow. But first, I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of the guests that we have this evening. The other one will be joining just a skosh later. And that's okay because their schedule is my schedule. But I want to say first hello to Swamp Rose. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And thank you for all the kind words and the beautiful shout outs that you've done. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm just so happy you're having us on tonight. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say, to learn more about the subject, and to make sure I'm giving the best, most current information to my viewers. So thank you again for having us tonight.
I appreciate that. I'm really excited to have you on. Thank you very much. And Gia too here in a little bit. I came across your channel a couple days ago and I've been watching your videos, and I was watching the one that you put out today, and you also had some people that you were showing to show both sides of the conversation. I thought it was very interesting and very cool too. Yeah, it was what do you think it is out there right now? What do you think it is like with what you're kind of going through, where you're going through it? Where do you think it is when it comes to the percentage of belief and disbelief?
Well, I don't know specifically about this case, but I can tell you that in the comments section, I would say that there is a definite divide right now. I think maybe the people who are for Brian's defense are a little more vocal in my comments right now, but I think it's pretty evenly split because I just feel that people are trying to find an objective opinion on this and trying to collect the evidence. I think everyone's aware there's a gag order and that we don't have all the information. And so I don't know if people are necessarily making an opinion yet or just asking loud questions. So
yeah. I still get comments to this day, on the video, or even people, reaching out on DMs about the story. But it's almost like the MSM in a way. If you guys go back when BK was just arrested, there was talk about ID being connected to one of the victims from the house, and different things that were just, and there's a lot of shock words, and there's a lot of stories that I feel like are meant to kind of cloud somebody's judgment in a way, I guess is a good way to say it. I was a part of the MSM, I remember because I started my channel right after the crimes took place, right around the same time period. And just a couple of weeks later, we were really starting to talk about it because a lot of stuff didn't make sense. And once BK was arrested, and there for a while, it was like, wow, this guy's sick. He's, even when he was arrested, the day he was arrested, I was like, yeah, this guy's fit. He definitely could have did this, just from listening to all the stuff. But as we started, as the case kind of progressed and court hearings started to happen, different things started to come out. We started to examine the PCA a lot more, word by word. We started to break things down, how stuff didn't really make sense or match up in our opinion. And so we kind of had to start questioning a lot of those stories that we were told and we really truly believed, because they were so shocking and so direct, and when it comes to the story from Dot, I feel like it's meant to be that way too. It's meant to be shocking. It's meant to, as I say, drop confetti between people and the truth, and so I kind of it's been a long time since the whole Dot conversation took place.
Mhm.
Not the only time that we've had a discussion, but regardless of who it is and if they really were or not, I really, when I look at everything as a whole, and this is why I'm showing the whole episode tonight, because I really truly feel like if this person, because this person claimed to have contacted Ellie, when I asked this person if they reached out to anybody else, no. And I feel like if somebody knew that information, if somebody knew, even when the PCA came out, because this conversation was 7 months later, even when the PCA came out, and you read the PCA, if you're that involved around when the crime took place, you would be that involved with what's happening and what's continuing to happen with the case, especially if you were a neighbor, because you'd be worried too. So you would definitely, I feel, read the PCA. You would look at the PCA and you'd be like, no, this is not right. And I think even then you would, if you were too afraid before, I think even then you would reach out, because shortly after that, somebody's life is on the line and it's based off that piece of paper right now. And so I feel like if they really did contact Ellie, if they really did contact Ann Taylor, and they talked to Ann Taylor, I don't think that they would be on YouTube. I don't think that they would even be allowed to be anywhere where that part of proof would then be able to be discredited in a trial. You know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
that's kind of where I come from when I listen to the conversation. The next day, Jules of All Trades put out a video that was well done, quick, and I felt, just kind of solidified everything that I was even kind of expressing towards the end of the episode, or the conversation, I should say. So I don't know. Where do you come from when it comes to the Dot and the story? Like, just the story. Who cares who it is? Who cares? Just the story alone. What do you
Well,
think?
I want to just backtrack just to one thing you said before. G is going to be on soon, but I want to say I think you're just kind of hovering right over the target. Legally, she does have some background that she can share with us, but if this was witness for the state or witness for the defense, I don't think we'd be seeing them jumping into live streams. But I'll let Gia speak more on that.
Okay.
I don't know the story. I think that one thing that I always think about is there are so many little things on the timeline between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And so if somebody was coming out saying activities or things that they heard during that period of the timeline, I think it would be extremely relevant. I'd want to bounce it off other things. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know how. I think that the witness that came from Dot and what we've heard from the roommates, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think the two stories could simultaneously be true. But again, I'm lending more. I don't quite. I'll let Gia speak legally, but I'm beginning to think along the lines of you. And I have a question, actually. You said, so after Jules disclaimed Dot the neighbor, did she not come back onto another live stream with some other YouTube creators and give another take on the story? It's my understanding. And then she was also in a TikTok live stream that Brat Norton was endorsing here on YouTube, along with True Crime Design, two pretty big creators. I was just surprised that they were endorsing Dot. Do you have any thoughts on that? You'd like to maybe enlighten me?
My thought is I'd probably have 4 times as many subs as I do now if I put out the same information.
That's
And that's where I'm coming from. Now I want to say something when you said 3 to 4 a.m. I do come from a position where I feel the timeline was from 3 to 4 a.m., somewhere around there. So I know where you're coming from on that when it comes to that part of what was said. I think even if because you're right, they did. I mean, they had to try and save face in any way they could. Just like OJ when his finger was bleeding and he first said it was broken on a glass in Chicago, and then when he came back home and he found out there was red stuff dripping on the sidewalk, then he changed his story to he was chipping balls in the lawn before he left for the plane to Chicago. So just like that, it went from this was my account, descriptive as hell, not reading it like it's off of a piece of paper. So that means you would have had to have reread that thing so much where you weren't going off of it, because if you listen to the questions and the responses, it's not like a piece of paper. But after the exposal, they did try to go back on panels or make videos about how they were then told to tell the story. And then again, I have to say, if that story was legit, that means that PCA is a piece of trash that goes in a dumpster, and the person that has their life on the line. I don't, even if you were told, how was the person in a position? I still go back to Ann Taylor would have that person in a penthouse suite, so they don't even have the opportunity to tell somebody, or it doesn't slip out, because that information right there would set somebody free from a DP, period.
Now, I'm sorry, I might be missing the part, but which part do you think? And it's purely me. I probably don't remember or understand. But which part do you feel completely makes the PCA a piece of trash? Just the timeline part of the scream that she witnessed.
8:30 a.m. She saw DM and other people standing outside having a cigarette with the sliding door open. At 8:30 a.m., that's directly in the middle of when the crime took place and when Ellie showed up.
8:30 a.m. and 12. So does the PCA state when Dylan and Bethany actually woke up?
It doesn't say when they woke up, no.
But we're all kind of just assuming that they woke up closer to noon and called the fraternities first, or called somebody to Dylan. I'm sorry, called Ethan's best friend and then called the police. We're just all assuming that's closer to 12, because as far as I know,
11:58
is
when they supposedly woke up.
Because I saw an interview, and Chaos Sector has put it out recently, and I believe it was the 2020 interview, but it was the first interview after, public or national interview after the slings, and Kaylee's friend Katie was on there. And she states that she was calling Kaylee because some sort of commotion around 10 o'clock. So I don't know. I don't know what's on the official record. I don't know.
There's of course, I mean, even on this show, we feel like people were up at 9:30, 10 in the morning. I mean, when you have all of that conversation going on, there's a lot of people that knew a lot of information shortly after LE showed up, and that's even the Consalvis family. So if you're going to call a family member and tell them that somebody came in and shot the place up and that your loved one's deceased, there's a lot of conversation that's going on before anybody calls mama and tells mama that information. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely, I feel like they were up before that. But when it comes to Dot's statement to the PCA, if Dylan and other people are outside smoking a cigarette with the sliding glass door open, that, when you look at the statements from the PCA, now when it comes to when the person left and what they saw, I don't understand how you wouldn't be able to take that information of somebody standing there seeing this witness account and all of these things taking place, and that I just don't understand how the statements from the witnesses are even credible at that point.
Yes.
So when it comes to other male DNA, well, Dodd already stated that there was other males standing there, one of them specifically D. And so when it comes to the other 3 male DNA, that would totally be able to be disputed in a trial because you have a witness statement of another male being there at the crime and unknown male DNA existing. So when it comes to just like LE, there's no LE that are currently active investigations talking on YouTube or TikTok, because what would happen? They would get in big trouble. And it's the same thing for the witnesses. They're not going to allow witnesses to get on YouTube or TikTok and put stories out there, especially when somebody comes on claiming one thing and they accidentally show themselves on a camera one night and then everything becomes exposed.
I agree, CJ. You know what's so confusing about that is after that happened, so I saw that in Rory's live stream. And then I saw another live stream he did after that, after the exposure. And so it's just confusing because you feel like you get mixed signals from people that you trust and creators that, you feel that they're putting their reputation behind things. And I know you say, it's about the money and everything, but you would just hope that it isn't necessarily about that,
Anyway. There's a yin and a yang, it exists, unfortunately, but that's why we have to continue to be a collective effort and to do things together as a community, because when our voices are together, that's when they're the strongest. So it doesn't matter how much influential confetti is out there, we're still strong enough in doing it together that our voice is strong enough and we can say, hey, guess what, everybody, just hold on to us and we'll take you through it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you embracing me into this community and talking to me about this tonight and kind of setting the record straight. It's I really do appreciate that. So thank you.
No, I appreciate you, and it's just where I'm coming from, because really everything is speculation, everything is perception, everything is our own opinion, and we're all just a community just like you. And that's why I wanted to have you on, and I'm excited because you are also about a community that will always listen to other people's theories, thoughts, and opinions, and will always approach it with the mind of truth and justice, no matter what. And that's important. And so I'm definitely excited that you guys get to join, and I'm excited that everybody gets to hear this conversation again, because I refer everybody back to it. And sometimes we live busy lives, but tonight we're going to do a show. We're just going to listen to that. It was like a 6-hour episode. We're just going to listen to the 1 hour, I think it was like 1 hour conversation or whatever. And I want to hear what you guys have to say, even no matter what it is. Just like on any of my videos, it's my opinion. I want to hear what you have to say. So thank you. I appreciate it.
CJ?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you officially identified this person as Braden? Or is that speculation?
No, it's Braden.
It's definitely Braden.
Yeah. There was information that was already out there before, because this person had been on other channels before they came to my show. And that's when, because if anybody watches the live chat, you'll even see people in chat talking about how Dot has been out there on other YouTube shows and other panels, and they've been able to say bits and pieces, and what they're saying is very interesting. And I am about exploring it all, but I'm not going to, and you'll see it in this show, I'm not going to, at first I'm like, yeah, come on, answer some questions, let's talk. And then towards the end, it just, I don't know, to me, it just became so unbelievably not real.
That's heartbreaking to
I
hear.
couldn't even, yeah. And no, I mean, trust me, the next 3 days after that, the amount of hate mail that I received was ridiculous. But as people started to see, oh, it was bad. But as people started to see, whoa, this person, the videos started to make their rounds where you saw the live stream they were on where the camera accidentally came on and you saw they were somebody else than they were portraying themselves to be, and other creators knew who it was. They were a TikToker that was already creating that type of content on TikTok and then switched to YouTube just to create a distraction.
Okay, so aside from the little, hey,
Gia.
Gia.
Hi.
Thank you for joining.
Keep going. I don't want to interrupt.
I know. I was just wondering, like, other than, so the creators from just the camera slip, they were able to definitely identify them as Brayden, or were there other things that
Other
made her
creators
what she was doing?
Other creators had already been working with that person before and knew what they were about. And so if you're not on TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, but it's crazy over on TikTok, the amount of stuff and the speculations and all that stuff. And the reason that I kind of approach it the way that I do, because I look at it from a family member's perspective of a victim. And even though I can't put myself in that position, I can try as best as I can with my soul. And when it comes to, anything that is not factual or not about the truth and justice, I feel it's just not a good energy to send to those families. And so I just try not to send any of that energy, just out of respect for them. And so that's why, sometimes even, there is crazy stuff, and I can't say that I'm not, just as much as BK is innocent, BK is guilty. I don't know. I'm not at the water cooler. And if I was, I wouldn't be on YouTube. But I have to approach it like a jury member, explore all reasonable doubt, but also explore all reasonable facts too. And so that's just where we come from, and that's just where I come from, and it's just something that we try to do every show. And sometimes we're wrong too, sometimes we're wrong, but every single show it's always about that 150%, no matter what. Thank you for hopping in, G. I appreciate you.
Yes, thanks. I was listening to you guys. I had a prior commitment, and so I was on the road driving, and I tuned in because I wanted to hear what was going on, what you were all saying, and so that when I came on, I didn't repeat other, things that you already went over and that kind of thing. But
Oh, you're good. What do you think about Dot's story so far with what you guys? And I want to say thank you for the kind words, and also you also have that truth and justice mind. I've been watching your guys' videos the last couple of days, and you both do such a tremendous job doing it. And I just want to say thank you for hopping up here.
yeah, well, thank you very much for the compliments, and that's what we try to do. And just to your point, we've always tried to look at it from the victims or the victim family standpoint, and to keep that forefront, because sometimes you can get lost in the minutia and going down the rabbit holes, and when you do that too much, it kind of can appear to be insensitive, and that absolutely none of us want that here. But so back to your question, I kind of I want to say I made up my mind really quickly, but after listening, and I just listened today to the call and everything, and my first thought was like, wait a minute, this is back from July or August, right? And
July.
what I think is that this Dot person was out trying to get attention from whomever and Ann Taylor and Ellie and all of that. I think it's very clear we can say she was not found to be credible. And
Right.
that's the bottom line. If she was found to be credible, she would have been secured as an expert witness right away, and she would have been under that gag order. And so this would not be, they would have scoured this right off the web. This wouldn't
It's
even be out there. They're just, I think they're looking at her as like, okay, just another person. There isn't anything she said that I couldn't have said from watching footage. So,
yeah.
my opinion.
It's like what I said. I don't know if I said it that show or if I said it the next day, because I came on somebody's panel, because I was the mail I was getting about not, because all the other panel members were pretty much like really like, oh gosh, what did I, and I'm just like, yo, and that next day, after the show, the next day, the mail coming my way was like, how could you not believe her? I mean, it was just crazy. The things, the vile venom that people were sending, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like the next day, somebody that was on the panel that night was like, hey, I'm going to be covering it, and I'm like, if you're going to be watching this thing and going through it, then I need to be able to be on panel to defend myself with all the crap that I'm getting because of where I'm coming from. Like you said, it's that you look at under the surface and you're just like, you would definitely not be out on YouTube being able to tell this story.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that whenever someone comes forward and they tell a story or they give a tip, we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. And you start off trusting, but then you verify, in the famous words of Ronald Reagan, right? I love that quote. Trust but verify. And with all the verification, there's a lot that can't be verified or substantiated. And I remember my brother talking about, there were 5 people standing out in the driveway smoking the cigarettes and all this. He may or may not have gotten that from her phone call from back in July. Like, outside of that, because after he told me that, I couldn't find it anywhere.
Right.
So I've never seen a report of anyone else talking about 5 people standing around. And she was very specific, and they were, passing a joint. And then there was this one and this friend, and she sort of knew the relationships. And then she knew them, and she, like, the one time I asked her, so you know D good enough to call him D? Oh no, I don't. Well then, I'm sorry. I mean, there was little things that just stuck out, and it's just like, okay, because guys, you gotta, because when you tell the truth, it's really easy for your story to come out the same every single time. And when you lie, there's little tiny, even when you think you're saying the same story, there's little things that just aren't adding up. And I kind of sense that with her. And I, if I can be brutally honest, I feel that in that call to me, and, I study behavior and everything, I don't think there was a voice changer at all. I think she was inebriated. Or she, he, they,
well, I mean, it could have been as easy as somebody putting a napkin over the phone.
It could be, but
but yeah, there was no voice changer.
No, and the cadence and the voice and the thing struck me as someone who was under the influence, and whether that's alcohol, and I'm not saying she was or wasn't, but it struck me as that way. That's how it presented to me, at least. And so right away in listening, I thought, and just the way she was speaking and sort of jumping around, and then one minute it was this, and then it was, and the dog, and Murphy, and I knew Murphy, and it just to me was, she lost some credibility, and then to say Ann Taylor wants me to come out, and we'll do it in the dark, and
right.
That's not how Ann Taylor would do things.
Right.
And Ann Taylor wouldn't necessarily do it. They would have somebody else would be taking care of that.
Right.
And a little bit of the paranoia with, what if I get filmed?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There was so many little teeny parts of that conversation, and that's like I said, it's that confetti, those shock words that float between you and the truth, and you just kind of have to, like, have that eye to see through it. You're
Right.
exactly right. It's
And
that
I say sometimes they're like little pink flags popping up everywhere.
right. Sus flags.
Caution. Yes, sus.
Yeah.
Sus flags,
Sus
right?
flags. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything you want to add to it? Either one of you? We can go ahead and get into when the conversation took place that night. Then we can kind of chit chat after that and see what you guys think. Is that cool? Anything
That's
you want to
cool.
add? Real quick? Okay.
Nope.
Thank you again. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to drop the link in chat again for their channel. If you're not sub, please do. And we're going to go ahead and let me get it to that episode. 1 second.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So this is the episode here, and I put a timestamp. Oh, wrong episode. I put a timestamp in it. Let's see this one right here.
To develop
And 5:02:15. So here's the link for this episode for the full conversation. I pinned at the top the timestamp right when Dot joins the show. So all you have to do is click on the pin, comment, and here is the
Oh
show.
yeah, when he got arrested.
And if anytime you want me to pause the video and you want to discuss something, just let me know and I'll go ahead and pause it, and then we can chit chat as we go through it.
Sure.
And thank you everybody for hopping in. Please hit the like on either stream. It's the free way to help us out, and we appreciate you all for hanging out.
I said, okay.
I'm not saying that they couldn't have joined. It's just we're talking with Rolo, and he wanted to talk about certain topics, and I didn't want to interrupt what Rolo hopped up and wanted to talk about. And earlier in chat, when they're acting like a troll, I'm sorry, you lose some of my patience right there. So
what was happening before this was this person came into chat. This was at the 5-hour mark. This person was coming into chat. They were saying that they know all this information. They know this. They know this. They were this. My chat was going crazy because I keep how many times did I drop the link, chat? It was like, I don't know, 15 times or something. I dropped the link to StreamYard, and they couldn't figure out how to click the link to join StreamYard, but they were running a voice changer. So that is why you're seeing me at this point going, you guys, like, it's a troll, like, just, okay. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in this part of the video.
Gave more than a minute of being behind backstage, maybe I would have gave more of a minute of effort. So
at this point, I'm just like,
that's the way it is.
I'm over
now.
it.
I mean,
if they didn't want to hop up on panel and want to share, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to interrupt a guest that already was able to do that and click up and hop up and be able to talk about what they wanted to talk about. Because let's be honest, there was a whole bunch of stuff in chat about this information you wanted to talk about, and you kept stalling. That's why all of my mods, that's why people in chat were saying, are you just not a troll? So if you're serious about the information, then be serious about the effort.
Well, and we've all been being trolled with this kind of stuff over the past month or so too. So everybody's on guard over it. So you got to understand that too.
Listen, I gave you plenty of patience by disrespecting my guests for a couple minutes by popping in multiple links over a short period of time.
Again, I've
That's
just had it at this point.
My guests when I'm taking my attention away from them to keep popping in a link over and over and over and over and over. So right there, that's when you lose some of my patience.
Mm-hmm.
And when you join with a different name than what you're typing in chat, I'm a little suspicious as well, too. That's why you didn't get up. So what's up? You hopping in panel? What's going on?
And that's not my ding, by the way.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Who says Cash App is blocked? They popped up here on panel.
Well, I just wanted to say first off, like, I'm not a troll.
I didn't say you were, but there was actions like it was trollish.
No, I understand. I understand there was, but like, I really genuinely have had the experiences that I've had, and it's really hard for me to talk about it. And
Totally understand.
especially when like people don't believe me, like it really upsets me. Like it really hurts me because
Well, can I give you some advice? What other people eat shouldn't make you shit.
no, I understand that, but like when I hear these things in on TikTok or on YouTube or wherever, when I hear these things and like I have firsthand knowledge, like it hurts so bad because I'm like, I really have knowledge of this stuff, and people think I'm a troll and won't believe me, you know?
Well, listen, hon, you got to understand what we've gone through for the past 9 months.
A lot of people say that.
A lot
I
of people.
understand.
I'm not saying that you're not, okay? Please don't get that wrong. None of us are saying that you're lying or that you're a troll or any of that. But there have been hundreds, literally hundreds. Yes, and I've had over 1,200 emails within a week. Okay, so you got to understand we have to vet things as much as we can.
We get a lot.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we get a lot of stuff of people telling us that they were here or there. Not to say that it's not true, because we're not here to decide who's honest or lying, because we'll never frickin' know.
Right.
All we can do is everything is a possibility until it's proven either way. And it goes that all of our communities are the same that exist in this show. Is that we're all about, you know what I'm saying? We even had a conversation about Kim a little bit ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just
when my show too, we're the same way, you know?
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying that like anything that I know is something that could be critical to what's happening. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like I was good friends with Dylan, and I was at an apartment party that night very close by, you know, and there's things that I heard and observed, and I went to the police and tried to tell them that, me and several other people, and they weren't very interested, you know. And I'm just trying to tell my part because it's really traumatizing to experience what I experienced with what happened, you know, and everything that I know. It's very hard to feel that every day.
Sure, absolutely. What if I can ask? Yeah, right. If I can ask, what agencies did you go to?
I just went to local law enforcement. Like I didn't push anything really, because once I went to them, they kind of made it seem like they kind of knew, they had figured out what they were doing. Yeah, they made it.
They had their narrative.
Yeah, they were. They were not listening at all, but they were kind of reluctant to like really be interested in it. So I felt like, okay, well, I feel like an idiot. I'm coming with this, and like what I have to say is not important. So I never pursued it after that, and neither did anybody that I knew, you know, that my friends were at the party. We never like try to pursue it, but it's like I hear and see all these things, and it's really hard. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Do you feel like this is
Doesn't her mom work for
what?
You're cutting out.
DM's mom, she works for the university, right?
Oh, me?
Oh, DM's mom, she works for the university.
I won't say anything like personal stuff like that. I won't do that.
I mean, that's already
right.
If
What
she
I
works
can't
for
say
the
that,
university, it'd be public record.
what I have told what I have told a few people, like literally 2 people. I've told this story before a couple weeks ago. And it was that when I woke up in the morning, I woke up around maybe about 8:15, the latest maybe 8:30, and I smoke cigarettes, so I went outside to the balcony to smoke a cigarette because we don't smoke in the apartment. And I seen 5 people outside in the backyard area of the house.
Can you describe? Okay, I've heard that part of that story.
Yes. Yes.
Can you? And I know you're not going to say if you know who they are or any of that, but can you describe what male, female, black, white, Asian, any of that kind of thing?
Yeah. So there was 3 males and 2 females. One of the males was like very pale and had light colored hair. There was a black male. There was another guy that I had never really even seen before that was kind of just like had his hoodie up. I believe I seen Dylan out there.
What color was the hoodie?
What color was the hoodie? Yeah.
I want to say like navy blue, like maybe like probably a dark blue. And he just had his hoodie up, and because they were all smoking weed.
Well, I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
You say navy blue. Was there some kind of lighting that would give you the impression of navy blue and not black? Considering it was that
I don't think
So
necessarily.
it was 8:30 in the morning, bro. 8:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was just kind of like when I glanced at it, it just looked like that navy blue color. Maybe it could have been black, but
okay.
There was also somebody that I believe was Dylan because I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You keep getting muffly, buddy.
Yeah,
I think.
Can you hear me now?
No, you're fine.
No, you're fine. It's Rolo. It's muffly.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know
I'm
if
sorry.
Maybe the mic is up against your cheek or something.
All right. What were you saying, Dot?
I was saying like I know Dylan. And
I asked if he was older. The guy with the.
Oh, he's asking if the guy looked like he was older, maybe older than
Which guy? Which guy?
The one with the hoodie, I'm guessing.
I couldn't tell. I really. I
How many feet approximately do you think you were away from the group?
I want to say probably less than 35 feet.
Less than 35. Okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty close, actually. 35 feet. That's pretty close.
The apartments that I was at, there was a balcony, and if you go to the right of the balcony, the house is literally like next to my shoulder on the right hand side. So it's like
there's the apartment.
Oh, that house.
It's literally there, and we had a lot of people there.
Okay.
Yeah, we were partying just like an average night. We had a lot of people in the apartment. We partied all the time. There was always ruckus that was going on through the neighborhood. You know, for the most part, I never really seen or heard anything that was really strange up until like about 3 a.m. But in the morning, I remember seeing Dylan because I know Dylan. She's taller, so I can kind of pick her out. And I know Emma was there, and Emma's friend. And there was a guy that was also like I said, really pale. I wasn't sure who he was with light colored hair. And there was another guy that had a hoodie on that I couldn't identify. But they were all just literally passing a joint around because they would wake up and smoke. And they were just all smoking. Like, I would have never guessed anything happened at that house when I woke up that morning until I found out later. I didn't leave until like 1:30. But I would have never guessed that anything happened because they were just out smoking like normal. Like, nothing had happened.
And this was at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, about 8:30. I didn't leave till 1:30.
And so, who was the everybody?
Ashley.
She's using a voice changer, guy. People in chat, they're saying she sounds older. That's why. Anyway, so you're saying that you saw a pale guy with light colored hair and a blue hoodie, Dylan, Emma, a black guy, and somebody else you said?
Yeah, well, no, the light color, the guy that had like the really light skin that was pale, he didn't have the blue hoodie. That was separate. There was the other guy. The guy, there was one guy that I don't know if it was blonde hair, very light colored skin and colored hair, like really pale. And then there was another guy that had like the navy blue, like darker hoodie, and kind of like from the angle that I was at, I couldn't really actually see his face to really know who he was.
Have you watched any of the Grub Truck videos?
Did you see them in the Grub Truck video?
Yeah, I've watched them. I followed like when all this stuff happened and the things transpired the way they did. You know, I followed a lot of the stuff, and it's been crazy. All the speculation, the things that some people say that, you know, people that I knew, and you know, it's really hard when you hear and see these things, and you know, these are people that you went to school with or you hung out with, or you know what I mean, you went to a party with. It's hard to see this stuff. It really is.
Well, could you recognize if anybody was at the Grub Truck?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like anybody at the Grub Truck to that morning?
What are you doing Wednesday morning? Are you available Wednesday morning?
I already know who you're talking about. I know.
No, not using a voice changer.
What's that?
Would you be available Wednesday morning?
I might be able to have a conversation.
No, not a conversation. I'm going to be going through probably Wednesday. I'm pretty sure is the day stream that I'm going to be doing all that Grub Truck stuff. And if you'd like to be on panel at any point while we're going through that, so then maybe if there's something that sticks out or whatever. 30 feet, that's pretty close.
Maybe you could point some.
So I'm going to pause it here real quick and we can chat for a minute if you guys want. Now, there's little things like if you noticed earlier, I said 8:30 at night. How'd you see it at 8:30 at night? I was waiting for her or him to say, oh, well, there's little things I'm trying to like throw out there to catch that person slipping. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Like I noticed how she said, you know, Dylan and I really, really good friends. And then she's like, when I looked out, the reason I could tell it was Dylan because I know she's a little taller. It's like not like, well, I know it was Dylan because we're really good friends. So of course I recognized her, and that was 30 feet away. Right. I would know you 30 feet away, and I've just met you, right? So,
right.
I mean,
I
wouldn't say, oh, I thought it might be him because I heard he wore a red cap sometime. You know, I mean, it's just so she's sort of contradict. The only thing I was listening for. Every time she describes the 5 people she does, it's always there was one really pale with pale hair, and then there was a black person, and then there was someone with a hoodie, and then there was Dylan and Emma. So she gets that right every time, she or he, but she's the only one that saw this grouping.
Right. Exactly.
That we know of, allegedly. Right.
And so at this point, it's like, okay, you've already kind of said a little bit. Let's get you comfortable. Hey, you want to come on? Yeah, let's get you comfortable. Let's get you comfortable. Now, there's going to be some more stuff that's being said. And you guys have to understand from the get-go. How many of you know how to click a link? But how many of you know how to work a voice changer? They're 2 totally different things. And if you work a voice changer, you've already known how to click a link. Okay. Right. You can't use a voice changer without clicking a link. Okay. Yeah. So if you can't click a link and you have a problem, you're not using a voice changer. It's not a good excuse from the get-go. Please just everybody keep that in mind. That's all. All right.
And it doesn't really sound like any voice changer. I see people saying it in the comments, and I tend to agree. It doesn't sound like any voice changer I've ever heard.
No, because usually there's a drastic change in it. I'm sorry, they don't, unless you got some really kick-ass, you know, soundboard that can fine-tune the drastic. I mean, like fine-tune it. Let me know, because I'm looking for one. Let me know.
Wait,
Seriously.
did she end up coming? You invited her to your panel the
No.
next day on the grub truck. She did not
No.
come.
No,
Oh.
no. This is so like in the beginning, I was questioning. Oh, the night. I'm trying to get different things to slip. Now I realize at this point in the part, she's repeating a lot of the stuff that she just told us. So what I'm trying to do at this point is let me get her a little more, or him. Let me get Dot a little more comfortable, because this is everything that you've been saying on all these other YouTube shows. I want you to go deeper than that, because I want people to see how much of a fake you are. That's what I was doing at that point. No, after this, the next day, I went on Dago's show, and I went up there. He was doing a review of it, and I'm like, hey, I can't let somebody do a review and me not be able to be on panel to defend myself of that review. So I went on the show the next day, and I was there to state where I was coming from and to answer any questions, and it's always about the peace, positivity, and progress with the truth and justice, even to the enemies. And so that's what I wanted to do.
CJ, can I ask one other quick question?
Yeah.
Just my one of my subscribers who always is in my live streams was asking, is the house technically the house that she's Dot's allegedly in on King Road? I see you've got so
this right here, I'm just, for the people in the audience, I'm trying to show them just the back house and the layout of it. Now she's claiming this is the only patio that you can see, and it's not even a balcony. So 1126 that you're seeing doesn't even have a patio or a balcony. It's a patio. So any patio talk that she's talking about, it's up there, and there is no balcony. I'm sorry, balcony. There is no balcony that she would be able to look and see the property to her right, that where she's coming from, because this right here, this picture right here, this is 30 feet and not the house. See where the sliding glass door is to 1118, right next door to 1126 King Road? That's 30 feet. So if this person is claiming 30 feet, you have I wouldn't even pay attention to 1126. Cut that picture in half and just focus on the 30 feet radius that's around that sliding glass door, because she's claiming that she saw this activity take place at the sliding glass door. That's 1126, though. That's a different. Yeah, 1126 just has a patio, like a porch. It does have a little roof. You see that little section coming out around that path? That's a little roof to a porch.
Yeah, I saw it in the pictures, but I only saw it from one angle, so I wasn't quite sure exactly what kind of a structure it was.
Yeah, it's just a porch. It's just a porch. So the 30 feet or less than 35 feet, the ring camera at 1122, because this is another thing with the PCA. The PCA states that the audio recording from 1112 was less than 50 feet away, but if you measure it, it's 65 to 70 feet. So 30 feet is not that far. So
I don't think she knew what she was really saying. Like, it could have been 150 feet. You know, I think she just pulled a number out and said, like, it was close enough where I could see, and didn't really realize what 30 feet is like. You know,
yeah, it's close. That's when
four men lay down in a row. You know, like that's not far.
Yeah, even when she said that, I was like, "Wow, 30 feet's pretty close." Like you're okay.
Yeah, and I also think just based on listening to her, and she keeps saying like, and I went to all the local law enforcement, and I was always partying there, and so she was a Moscow, probably local, right? And so my feeling is she was really well known to law enforcement for whatever reason. They may have had some interactions with her. And so that's why sometimes someone like that, maybe the town crier, and for the people who say like, don't be quick to judge. I'm not judging. I'm just talking through it. You know, but I think she was well known to law enforcement for, they seem to know all the people that were in those party houses very well, right? And she claims she was constantly there partying, so much so that she knew Murphy real well. And
well, this is Dot is not telling us any information that nobody didn't know already or was exploring. And this is just my opinion, their opinion, but in my opinion, if you look at all the parts of the story in its totality, back at that time, there were a lot of content creators over the last couple months talking about those different parts and those different people. So to be able to come up with this story, you're really picking pieces out of different YouTube creators' videos and compiling them into a story.
Yeah, and it's so funny that this tragedy happened in November, and then she's coming up with this 9 months later in July.
That's disturbing. Yeah, that's a very.
You know what I mean? Like, this would be pertinent information, and anyone would know that would have come out probably closer to December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the PCA, it wouldn't have been long after the PCA.
Right. So 9 months and hearing all of this, and then all of a sudden, like maybe wanting my 5 minutes of fame, I step in and I say, and I bet she or he or whoever has been in that house next to the party house, and probably is someone that has some familiarity with the area and the house
well, we could all be next to the party house and explore it, because there's Google walk around on Street View. And that's one of the things that we did in the beginning when the crime took place, is for us to get familiar with it. We walked around on Google. And so that's just kind of where my mind is coming from, because this whole time I wasn't even going to be a true crime YouTube talk show, and this is the case that kind of turned my channel into that, because stuff didn't make sense. And I was exploring everything, and that was with it's anything, anybody could be familiar just by walking around Street View. I feel like especially with any of these properties, because there for a couple weeks it was not blurred out there for a while, and so you could zoom close in and everything. And when it comes to this information being even just available to be put out there so many months later, as soon as that PCA dropped, that person that knew that information, I feel, would have reached out and said something at that point, because somebody else's life was on the line. And if you have something that doesn't make sense to what the PCA is stating when it comes to the statements and what LE's stating, they all they said was that all they knew is there was people out there when they showed up. And they still didn't even know how many were there, because they let all the students go. So, this is a story. This is something that would be any defense attorney's dream, to have a star witness like this to be able to say this information. So yeah, like you're saying, 7 months later, and this is it. You just, I don't know. It just doesn't. There's a lot of things that just didn't make sense, and even just the little parts, like the 30 feet. How is it 30 feet?
Mark B from one of my subscribers just said that he measured. I don't know if you saw the comment, but he measured. It was 62 feet from that particular area to the sliding glass door.
Yeah.
So I mean, just throwing that out.
Yeah, you're talking 60 to 70 feet. Yeah, and to say 30 feet from that, just the cement slab on that sliding glass door, just to the edge of 1118 King Road, that's 30 feet.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not great with measurements either. I might guess 35 feet and it really be like, I don't know what.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think she did, but
Google Earth. Just Google Earth, and then you can use Google Earth and use the little. It's like a route maker thing that you put on there, and it'll show all the measurements for you. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Another thing that was interesting to me too was, so she claimed to have spent quite a bit of time over at this house, and she made the comment to say, they always went out there in the morning smoking, right? That this was always. So it's like, okay, it's 7-8 months later. Was she remembering that morning, or was she remembering another morning that she looked out and they were standing outside smoking? And so
that's a great question too.
And going back to the original point, the FBI was involved in this. This wasn't a case of a petty theft, right? It's a quadruple murder case. And so if someone's coming forward and they're claiming to have, where she says, and I don't know a lot of other stuff too that I'm not mentioning, law enforcement would have her in there so fast it wouldn't be funny, and she would be right under that gag order. And if they found her to be credible, we wouldn't hear anything from her.
Right. 100%. 100%. For sure. Yeah. All right. Let me see here. I think we're about, let me see. So we got about 1 hour here. So this is the next part. This is after I'm trying to get Doc comfortable. Come on, tell us more. You're saying the same thing over and over. Let's get you comfortable. Come on, talk some more. So here we go.
Somebody out, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, like a lot of people will say, well, like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Like, I was just a party goer. Like, at the end of the day, like, I was just somebody that was at a party, like, getting drunk, having a good time. Like, I was not somebody that was being aware and was, like, looking for anything or anything. Like, I was just a party goer, and it just happened to be at the time that these things happened, and so it's not, nothing was just like, I was there and, zeroed in, but I did hear things and I did see things.
But the fact that there was 5 people in the backyard is weird.
Yeah. Was the door open up there?
Or was it closed? A sliding glass door?
I can see the back door. The back door, I did not see the back door open when I seen them outside. Like, when I seen them outside, they were just congregating. Like, they would wake up in the morning, like, we're gonna smoke some. They always did that. A lot of people did that.
By the couch?
After all that took place.
Yeah, like the end part of the couch towards the sliding door, like that end area. They had like a little table, like a kind of like a little table close to the like patio, and everybody would just smoke over there. It was just like a normal morning. There wasn't
let me ask you something real quick if I can. I'm
sorry. You would see the door though.
Yeah, you should be able to see a slider. You said Dylan, right? You're friends with Dylan?
Yeah, I would say I was friends with her.
Okay, you know who Quinn is, her boyfriend, right?
Yes.
Did you see him there?
No.
Okay. No. Okay. Thank you. Just curious. So that's what. And you did say that there was Dylan, you thought Emma and one of their friends.
Yeah, I always knew I would kind of know Emma because of the fact that who she always hanged out with. Yeah. He was a black guy, and like they always were together wherever they went. So if
who was the other friend? Do you know who she was?
You mean Emma's friend?
Yeah.
D. We call him D.
No. You said him, and then her.
So you know him personally?
I don't know D personally. I've talked to Emma maybe a few times in passing. Like, I was never like friends with her. I maybe had a like impact.
No, I'm just asking because you said we call him D, so it made it sound like you and a group of people refer to him as D.
Well, yeah, we do.
So you knew
Yeah,
it?
we did because the group of people that I associated with, we kind of did some nefarious things. We were that's how we grew to know him, because we would buy things from him, so to speak. So that's kind of like how we ended up knowing him and got acclimated with him.
So you're familiar with his physique, then you would know what he looks like when he's standing outside of somebody's property, right?
Yeah.
So are you stating that was D?
How tall would you say he was?
Is that what you're stating?
Yes.
Because you were 30 feet away.
Yeah.
You know his stature.
Yes.
You know him. So you're saying that was him at the scene of the crime before Ellie showed up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if they knew anything about what was in the house. I don't know if they went inside. Like, I never seen anybody.
It don't matter though. You're at the scene of the crime. You
I don't know.
If
I just know they were
8:30.
Yeah.
Well,
4 hours.
Yeah, right.
That's a long time. You not know.
Were you there all night?
If they're standing
partying?
outside with DM.
Yeah,
right.
What I'm
Were you
saying,
there?
4 hours later, if I don't think anybody can sleep or even stay inside that property with the toxic chemicals floating in the freaking air.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I want to pause it here real quick. I just want to say, for anybody that doesn't know or is new, there was a period in time where I was around fluid from deceased people. So when I'm talking about this experience, and when I say that I've smelled it from 5 times away, I'm not BSing. And the best thing that I can compare the strength of the scent is smelling salt. I'm not saying it's the same scent. What I'm saying is the powerfulness of that smelling salt. Multiply that many, many, many more. And that's how strong that is. And this is where I'm coming from.
I'm not going to see people standing outside and not know something fucking fishy happened, because especially if the screen door's open, because you're going to smell it before you even get to the screen door. You're going to smell it before you get to the couch.
Right.
Well,
And also, when it comes to what I'm talking about, it's not natural. These are fluids that are in these organs naturally that then come out. And then that's this right here. This crime took place. It gets rid of all of that natural time to it because of the type of brutality and the injuries that took place to each one of these victims. You basically fast tracked all of those biohazardous chemicals to the point where somebody would have that scent. And so you're not waiting for the natural time process. Everything has been fast tracked with the type of injuries and where the injuries were occurring and what is inside of our body. And so that right there, 4 hours later, and people are nonchalantly standing out there having a cigarette. When that kind of crime took place, you state the time that it took place in the statement to the PCA. You're nonchalantly hanging outside at 8:30 having a cigarette with a group of people, and then there's a 911 call at 11:58 for an unconscious person at 11:22. Those line of events just don't match. Especially, I don't think anybody could stand out there nonchalantly have a cigarette and not about puke. That's just me.
Okay. That's interesting, because I've never had that experience. So, and I've heard people, so hearing you describe it like that, it's like, okay, there's no way you'd wake up and for 4 hours mill around, even if they had their doors shut. It's kind of like, I grew up in New Hampshire, right? And if a skunk sprays, there's no way you're not smelling it for,
Right.
you
Yeah,
it's not something you can overlook.
I'm not going to say that the scent goes as far as a skunk does, because it doesn't. But when it comes to, from my experience,
Okay.
I've experienced that scent, I would say a good 40 feet, around 40 feet, maybe a few more. So when you're talking about, and that was just one, you're
Right.
talking about 4 in an
Right.
enclosed property that has a ventilation system from a furnace or an air conditioner.
Okay.
And it was 20 some degrees that night. I'm pretty sure the furnace was running, and
Yep.
you're talking about a lot of air movement.
Okay. So there's
CJ,
no way they couldn't. They knew there was something that didn't smell right. It wasn't a normal, right? So that would have been
Yeah.
odd to go about your day until noon and then be like, you know what?
I think
Something-
that's why one person was called in as unconscious, because I think they couldn't handle the smell and they passed the F out.
Yeah. Oh. Huh.
And I think that's why the sliding glass door was open, because of the scent was so
smell.
strong. They needed to try somehow to get the
Yeah.
scent out of there for other people to go in there and find out what was going on before LE was called.
Yeah. Well, good point, because the person who passed out and was reported as unconscious, I always assumed was one of the 4, but maybe it was.
It could have been. It could have been. And there's other things when it comes to there's a law in Idaho, specifically Moscow, where if you call in an OD, it is labeled as unconscious. So
Okay.
there's different. It could be really an unconscious witness. It could be an unconscious that they thought, victim. It could be all those possibilities. And that's one thing when the 911 call is released during trial. That's going to be very interesting to hear exactly what was the unconscious, because it could be so many possibilities for sure.
Definitely. Yep.
CJ, could I ask your opinion about something with that
Yeah.
experience that you have with the odors? You said that it's almost like 5 times more pungent than like in your nose than like smelling salt. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I can't even say 5. Oh, it is so strong. So my first experience with it, I walked out of the door to the building. As soon as I opened the door, it hit me, and the vehicle was parked over 30 feet away. So as I'm walking up to it, I didn't know. I'm like, what the heck is what is this? I
Yeah.
didn't know. I open up the vehicle and I see a neon green type fluid all over. So I call the company and I'm like, what is this? And they said, oh, sorry. One of our guys must have dropped off a vehicle that was doing a transport, and the bag must have not been zipped up all the way, and it leaked all over the place. Sorry about that. Don't touch anything because you have to be certified. It's biohazardous chemicals and all this other. Well, a few more times it happened. And I can't even, it's one of those smells that you can't even describe. I can't describe the smell. All I can describe is the potency of the smell.
Okay.
And that's why I refer it to smelling salt, but I mean, it's way stronger. Because if you break up a couple smelling salts, you're not really going to smell it from 30, 40 feet away.
Right.
So who knows? A bucket, maybe?
In your opinion, do you think that smell would have woke somebody up?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
If you, with it being low 20s that night, mid 20s, that furnace was working. Even if you have it set to 60 or 55 degrees, which is it's cold if you have it set to that, but even if you have it set to it's still running, because it's got to keep the house at that temperature. And then we saw how crappy the house was built, so to say the insulation was fabulous is you can't. So that furnace is going to be going. So you have 2 different rooms, 2 different people in those 2 different rooms. That furnace is going. that's probably why people thought that everybody, and even Ellie in the beginning, thought that everybody, the surviving roommates, were downstairs, is because that's probably where she tried to go. And she probably woke up a couple hours later after the furnace has been going, because that furnace goes into her room too, and it's just circulating that air. So that would wake her up, because no matter how intoxicated you are, it's going to wake you up. Remember, smelling salt. Then it's so potent, you're probably running out of your room and you're trying to run downstairs or something, because who knows what happened. But and I think that's with BF being downstairs. Even though that furnace is going, if you look at the structure and how it was built, it's almost like that first floor is almost separate in a way than the top 2 floors.
Right.
So it's not going to have that air activity as the 3rd floor and the 2nd floor, because that's where all of it took place. And that's where the victims are. The 1st floor is the only floor that doesn't have another half to it, because it's dirt behind it.
Right.
And also they're right next to the beginning, the front of the building. So they might have a little amount of that air coming through naturally from the furnace, but upstairs it's continuing to circulate and circulate and circulate. So all right, let me get back to this. And this is from July 31st, 2023.
From that distance, maybe not, but closer up, yeah, for sure.
Well, like when I went out on the balcony and I smoked, like
I've smelled it from 5 times the distance, man.
It was really normal. It was pretty cold that morning. It was really normal, like, to just go out on the balcony and smoke. And a lot of the times people would wake up and they would go outside and sit on the couches and smoke and stuff like that. And it wasn't like abnormal. So like there was nothing that really told me, like, in that morning, like nothing that really stood out that I'd be like, oh, there's something wrong. You know what I mean?
Okay. Did you see any specific vehicles in the air, like around the house in the parking lot that morning?
No, nothing that was out of, like, everything was kind of pretty normal from what I normally seen. Like there was a lot of vehicles that would come and go, but they were all for a lot of the parties. Like there's the Linda Lane footage where you can hear somebody talking about Charlie, and that was like the neighbors, the party I was at, like the neighbors a couple of doors down, they were always fighting. So like you can hear that, and I can like verify that was legit, because they were always fighting boyfriend and girlfriend all the time.
Is there a gym?
What's that?
Is there a gym?
Is there what?
A gym. Somebody named Jim.
Oh, I'm not sure. I just know, like, hearing like the Charlie stuff. Like,
okay. So you were there all night, right? Like partying all night long?
Yeah, I got there before 10 o'clock. And I hung out there. We were playing beer pong. We were playing games. We left at like a little after 1:30 to go get more alcohol. And then we came back, and then I was there. I fell asleep maybe around 3:30, and then when I woke up, it was like around 8 or 8:30 when I smoked a cigarette and seen what I seen. But around 3 o'clock, we had heard they were trying to find Murphy. They were trying to find the dog.
So you saw the ambulance show up?
I didn't see the ambulance until I went to leave. When I went to leave, it was about maybe 1:30, and everything was blocked off. I couldn't even get to the right side of the area. I had to walk all the way down the road to get picked up. And that's when I seen that everything was blocked off, and I didn't know what was going on.
So why didn't Ellie take your 1 second, Dago? Why didn't Ellie take your interview serious if you can place D at 8:30 in the morning?
I have no clue.
Because that's pretty heavy shit. You know what I mean?
I honestly don't know. Like,
Because for people to be hanging, if the crime took place between 4 and 4:25, LE was 911 wasn't called until 11:58. So you got 5 people. There's witness account of 5 people standing outside halfway in between when the crimes took place and when the 911 call took place, directly in the middle, pretty much almost. And I don't understand why they wouldn't take you seriously. That doesn't.
Yeah, I don't get
That's
it
some pretty
either.
heavy shit. You know
You
what I'm
remember who
Yeah, so
saying?
you?
like I had a friend, we were playing a game called Two Truths and a Lie, and we were playing beer pong too as well. And I had a friend that went on Instagram Live. It was like 22 minutes she was on, and like 18 of those minutes we were in the apartment, just like our music was blaring, like all that stuff. There was maybe like about 2 minutes when we were outside and we were recording it, and you know, you can hear something. I don't know if it was something related. You can hear some stuff, but
Who did
I
you
did.
talk to when you went down to Moscow to give your report? Who'd you talk to? Do you remember?
I wasn't anybody specifically. I just went to the front desk.
They
And
didn't
was like,
introduce you, or they didn't introduce themselves,
That's
or
not.
there wasn't no. You went down to there. You didn't call. You went down physically.
yeah, I went down physically.
So there wasn't a name tag on their desk. There wasn't. You know what I mean?
Like when I went to the front, there, like I just went to the front and there was a clerk sitting there, and I explained like, hey, this is where I was. This is the address. This is what's going on. I explained about what I heard maybe at about 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and they said, okay, we will have a detective get in touch with you. They gave me a piece of paper, and it was like a blank piece of paper. I had to fill out my name, what I heard, what I seen. I slipped it under the glass, and they were like, okay, we'll have a detective contact you. Nobody ever contacted me. So I just figured they figured
Okay.
out what was going on,
You didn't try and contact them after
I
they
didn't.
didn't,
No, I didn't.
because
Have you
that's some
tried
pretty
to?
heavy shit. If you
Yeah, I
can
did.
place somebody at the
Yeah.
scene of a crime in between when the crime took place and when 911 was called, especially during an 8-hour gap, that's some heavy shit.
Have
But
you
wait,
Yeah,
tried
were
to?
you
I
saying
didn't.
DM was outside?
What's that?
Were you saying DM was outside with them?
Yeah.
Yes, because
Yeah.
I know Dylan.
See that? Like, I
Right.
don't understand how they
That
wouldn't.
part is crazy to me.
And
you
if
didn't
you
see
did
Bethany
that, why
anywhere
wouldn't
around
you
there
just
either?
check out? You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
mean, from what I had heard, Bethany wasn't even there that night. She was at a party. She didn't come home until like maybe past 11. She
That's
was
why I said
partying at
that.
a different place.
Mm.
I don't even think she was there that night.
I mean, 11 the next morning or 11 that night?
Yeah, 11 the next morning. So
Okay.
she was gone through the night.
Mm.
Right before the 911 call.
Yeah, I don't know what time. I just know like when I woke up at around the 8 and I smoked, I went back to bed. I was hungover. I was really tired. So once I finally woke up, and got around to do everything, and everybody was talking about everything, and all the lights were going, like everything was crazy, and so I had to call for a ride because I couldn't even get down into that area, and so my ride had to go all the way down. And when I walked down, there was all the stuff that was happening, and Snapchat was going crazy. It was like,
So
I
what
would have
time
never
were the
guessed.
Snapchats going off in the morning if
I don't know. I don't
Snapchat
know.
was going
When I
crazy?
woke up, I want to say I woke up after 12 o'clock. I don't know what time they started.
Well, but you seen them at 8:30 in the morning.
Well, I actually physically seen them at 8:30 in the morning. I don't know what time like the Snapchats or whatever went off.
Because I had heard that's around when the Snapchat started
So,
to go off.
what are you a student? If I can ask, are you a student out there too, or?
I was a student. I no longer am after everything that happened.
Oh, okay. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
I was gonna be being close to a junior. I had enough credits to where I was very close to being a junior.
Okay, cool. Got you.
I got a little bit backtracked because I had a major I was planning on going into, and then I kind of like changed courses, and then everything that had happened, you know, I couldn't do it anymore. You know, there's so many things that are so hard to comprehend, you know, and one of them is like I said, that morning I would have never guessed that there was murders ever. Like it was like a
Well,
normal morning.
what were the Snapchats saying if you read them when you woke up after?
People were saying that, like, some people saying that there was ODs going on, or like the house overdose, and that was pretty much what it was for the most part. Is that people in the house had overdosed and died.
So let me ask you a question real quick. If you were to guess, okay, based on what you saw the next morning, what you heard being there, what do you think happened that morning, I should say?
Well, at like 3 a.m., a little bit after 3 a.m., this was before I went to bed. We were supposed to, in the apartment that I was at, the party, we were supposed to go on the balcony to smoke. We were not supposed to like smoke weed or even cigarettes inside, but some people didn't listen to the people that resided at the apartment, so they would smoke inside anyway. So they would crack like 2 of the windows, like on the right hand side of the apartment, and when they did crack the windows to get the breeze and to get the smoke out, like there was a lot of stuff that went on it. Like around a little bit after 3, there were a couple of things that I heard that were really disturbing, but I was drunk and I just said, like, in my head I was like, you know what, it's probably something really stupid and I'm just overanalyzing it, you know, like in my head I didn't think like, oh, there is something of emergency. When I look back at it now, like it literally tears me up inside, because I'm like, could I have done more? Could I have did I just bypass something, you know? But it was like it was a scream. There was one scream. It was it literally like it sounded like somebody was being mauled by a bear. Like it was like
when you heard.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pause it there real quick for a few minutes. If you remember all the neighbors' accounts after the crime took place, all the neighbors stated it was a quiet night. So if it sounded like somebody was being mauled, I think somebody else from the neighborhood that was on any of those interviews after the crime took place would have said something to that effect. Because if it was a very quiet night, you would definitely have been able to hear somebody act, sounding like a bear calling them. So another thing that just makes you have to question. I know, and I see there's a chat like, oh wow, this is it is an interesting part, and that's what I say about confetti. It's meant to fall down between. And, look at that flashy color and the glitter. It's meant to make you look away. It's meant to.
I do have. I'm glad you paused it here, because just the thoughts are accumulating up, and I think the chat is probably lighting up, just because when you hear this person talk. I mean, I've heard certain con artists in my life who are super convincing, but she sounds so convincing the way she describes her schooling, enrollment, credits. Even when I was expecting her story of how she handed that report into the police if she was a fraud to be a little, I don't know, it even sounded credible when she said that. But I had a couple thoughts when she was talking about her time frame. The first one is, I mean, I'm not sure about how it is in Idaho, but it was just odd that somebody would buy alcohol at 1:30 in the morning. It doesn't seem like many places would sell alcohol. I don't know, again, like what it is in Idaho, but you wouldn't think they'd sell alcohol at 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
unless they were going to get it somewhere or if they were going to the bar. And then the other thing is, she talks about the quiet morning, but if she left at 1:30 in the afternoon, she woke up at noon and left at 1:30, being 62 feet away from a quadruple unaliving. There's no way you wouldn't notice that. I mean, it wouldn't be quiet. She said that she left and she didn't see anything going on.
Right.
Yeah, but she also didn't say she smelled anything. And I to your point, you know, I think CJ that you said, and I saw how close that house was to the King Road house. I mean, you would definitely smell something, and that was never anything that she even brought up. And she left at 1:45, and police were there.
Yeah, they were all up and down the road.
Yeah.
And I do believe that they're, you know, I don't think students showed up at 11:58. I really do feel like students were there multiple hours before Ellie was called, because I have an older video that I put out there when it comes to like a protocol of like a frat. Anybody, I'll drop the link in the description of this video. It goes through, it's called, the title is something about an unconscious person. And I kind of go through it, and it just kind of helps explain that a little better when it comes to that part of it. This, you know, like you were saying, there was nothing going on. I feel like students were there earlier. They were there a couple hours because they had to figure out a plan of action, and you'll see what I mean in the video. A plan of action. There was students there. I feel like there would have been a lot of activity. There would have been a lot of chatter going on, not necessarily inside the property, because I don't know how many people would have been able to go inside the property. There would have been a lot of chatter outside of that property, and so it wouldn't have been a quiet morning. There would have been people going, why is there so many people out there in a parking lot at 10, 11 in the morning? It wouldn't be some quiet morning that nothing was going on, especially like you state, when Dot is supposedly leaving in the afternoon at that point, because they went back to sleep and then woke back up again to go to work. If you break all these little teeny stories, you know, you take the video, you break it down into this part and this part and this part, as the Dot's going through each part is being explained, you can literally take that little part and go, holy shit, that was Enon's story from an interview. It was this person's interview. It was all of these little teeny things with a lot of extra kind of put on it, and you'll notice.
I mean, but if you're going to build a story, you're also building the story that everyone knows too. So
of course.
And you're building a story with the caveat every once in a while, just in case something's not making sense. I was really drunk. I was really drunk, right? So it's like, well, I might have misspoke, but I was really drunk. So it's kind of a way to, you know, cover your tracks if you do say something that didn't jive with what you said the time before. Or I just remembered that, you know, I hadn't remembered that right away. It was a little fuzzy. But now that I think about it.
And like you brought up earlier, Gia, about, you know, being intoxicated, could it have been another morning that she remembers? Because to that point exactly, if Dot is saying that nothing out of the ordinary, oh no, they're always out there smoking a cigarette, and that nothing out of the ordinary, then if you were intoxicated, like you brought up earlier, how do you know for sure it was that morning then? 100.
And was that the first time the story ever came out that you have record of? Was in July that Dot was telling?
No, Dot was actually out on other YouTube shows a couple weeks before Dot came on my show.
Okay,
so
June, you know, like
May, June. I didn't even know about Dot until about a month before Dot came on the show.
Okay.
I had people reaching out to me, hey, you need to listen to this story. I have a lot of people reaching out to me, whether it's
Sure.
story or, information or whatever. And it's just something that kept coming across, and I'm like, okay, this story I'm sorry. When I'm reading what people are sending me about what's being said, in my mind, I'm like, because there's a responsibility here to make sure that it is about the truth and justice. So I do get a lot of stuff, and I'm not saying stuff isn't true, but I need more information, or if something doesn't make sense, I'm not going to make it a discussion.
Right.
There's so many other things that we can get with truth and justice. But when this person's coming to the show and they're coming in chat, and a lot of the community, they don't just watch this channel, they go watch other channels, and so they've seen that person on the other channels, and people in the community are like, hey, we've heard them talk here and talk here little bits, but this was one of those opportunities where it's like, okay, there's an extended period of time. We got 5 people up on panel. There's a bunch of questions that can take place. Let's just have this conversation. It was one of them things where, I kind of wasn't having it, but it was like, hey, let's do it. Let's just go ahead and have this conversation. Even though, towards the end, and you'll see, even though towards the end, I'm really not having it anymore at the end. Just because there's so many, like, it's those shock words, and we have to take everybody with us and bring them through the confetti, because sometimes stuff is so shocking, and we all are so passionate about wanting truth and justice, and that's why we do explore stuff like this, because it's always about the truth and justice and exploring everything. But at the same time, we also have to look at it in an in-depth kind of way, and kind of break it all apart in pieces, and then see exactly.
Right. Yeah, and it might be Dot did see some of these things, but maybe the sequence of events isn't quite as she remembers. And I don't think anyone's on here. It's not about whether she's right or wrong, but it's about giving the opportunity to talk through her story and what her reality seems to be. And and if we're going to pick it apart, we'll pick it apart, but that's only to get to the truth and the justice.
Mhm.
It's not anything personal to this person, Dot.
Mhm.
It's just, you're saying this, you're putting it out there, and this is sort of what we do. We're gonna look at it, we're gonna dissect it, we're gonna consider it, and if it's not making sense, it's gonna be brought up, and not
Just
as
like the PCA.
right.
Just like the PCA, it's the same thing.
Exactly. We're gonna
It's
scrutinize.
what is said. Yep. What is said, 100.
Yep.
All right, let me see here. We'll get back to this. Now we're about halfway through. And again, I'll drop the link to this video in chat. And if you're not subbed to Swamp Rose and Gigi or Gia, definitely go sub. I will drop the link in chat if you're not subbed already.
When did you hear that? When did you hear that?
This was a little bit after 3 a.m. But there's a lot of times that streams go on at parties, like really for weird reasons, and so in my head, I want to just tell myself, okay, well, this is a little weird, but even if I thought it was, something maybe to think about, I'm at a party with a bunch of people, and we were smoking weed and we were drinking, and there were people that were doing illegal drugs, and you know what I mean? Like, if I would have called the police, I would have gotten everybody at the party in trouble too. I had like so many things weighing in my head. Like, if I had done that, and even if I did, I have to tell an officer, like, hey, I'm drunk, but I heard this scream. Like, is he even going to believe me? Like, I was really backed into a corner. So, but now that I think of it, like, it bothers me because I remember that scream, and it was not a normal scream. It was
Right.
more.
So do you think the police did their job?
In regards to what?
Well,
Do you
no, if
think-
they didn't call her back,
Well,
you know.
no.
So
I
they were
understand.
knocking. They not the first week that everything like transpired, I know because like my friend who lives at the apartments, he said they knocked on a few doors or whatever, but it was not anything where they were like really in depth, like having conversations with people. They weren't like really actually like trying to like, okay, what happened with this? Like they knocked a couple of times, like, hey, did you see a? Mostly they wanted to know if we seen a specific car in the area, but they didn't care to hear about anything else. It was kind of like, okay, did you see this white car in the area? Like that's really what people said. They weren't really like, hey, did you see it or hear any sounds? Like they really weren't
someone
interested.
already.
So, do you remember seeing any of these cops that were in these unmarked cars over by the band field across over there?
No, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about what happened with that stuff, but I do know that like
I just didn't know if maybe you saw the cars and saw them questioning people.
What about
and
the car driving up and down all over the place? Did you hear that?
No, honestly, I didn't. No, I didn't. And like nobody that I knew even seen anything like that. You know, like we didn't, as far as it goes with like Brian, I can tell you that for myself and on behalf of probably half of the people that partied with me, we never knew him. We've never seen him. We never knew anything about him. And when he got charged and it went on the news and we were watching, we were stunned because we were not expecting. We literally were like, who is this person? Nobody really knew him, you know?
Yeah. So you said, what time did you say you went to sleep that night roughly?
It was probably
like 3?
Between 3 and 3:30, you know, maybe a little bit later, but I was in the apartment. The windows were shut. We had the doors locked, you know, and it's like, you know, it's really hard to hear anything after that point. But yeah, we were close to that point. But I remember they were calling for the dog. I don't know if the dog was missing, but I remember there was like, I don't know if it was Ethan, but somebody was whistling. A male was whistling for the dog. They were looking for the dog
at 3.
At like 3 in the morning.
Was that before or after you heard the scream that you said you heard?
It was before the scream.
Before. It would have to be before. And so you heard a male whistling for Murphy.
Yeah, like, you know, if you put like 2 fingers in your mouth and you like blow for a whistle.
Were they saying Murphy or just whistling?
They were just whistling, but we knew Murphy because when I would party over there, sometimes Murphy would get out and, you know, and we kind of knew the dog just as like, you know, a neighbor dog.
And I'm going to pause it again real quick. There were a lot of interviews from neighbors that never stated anything about anybody whistling, trying to find a dog, any of these sounds that's being claimed. So when you have to look at the totality of it, you have 10 interviews or more from local and national media with neighbors that live right at same distance, and not one of them stated any of these things took place. Every single one of them stated it was a quiet night.
No, I agree with you, CJ. I just think like if your doors are shut in the middle of November, you might not hear like a whistle necessarily, but the screaming, I think that somebody might pick that up at 3 in the morning. Your television's not on, you know, other elements. So I don't know.
Well, not everyone's passed out, right? Not everyone. Right. If you're passed out and you're sleeping passed out, it's different than if you're just asleep, right? Because I could see like being passed out from partying, you might not hear anything for hours, but like you can't assume everybody in the vicinity was inebriated and passed out.
Right. And also when Dot describes the whistle for the dog, it's not, I can't even whistle that good. but they claim it's the whistle that you stick two fingers in your mouth. Now, I played basketball since a little tyke, all growing up. That was one of the things that drove me nuts about my coaches, was how loud that whistle was. How it just drove me nuts hearing somebody do that whistle, because it was so loud. And that's why I'm saying, when I refer to that whistle at 3 a.m., I feel somebody else would have heard how loud that, especially at 3 a.m. That's enough for somebody that's a neighbor to maybe be laying down in bed to go, what the hell was that? What's going on outside? Because you're whistling that loud. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from with that whistle. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I thought she said something funny, because she said when, and so this would depend, when did she go to law enforcement and try to talk to them? I was assuming it was fairly soon right after, right? And she's like, well, they kept asking me, did I see a white car? Did I see the white car? But they didn't even, the white car theory wasn't really even on their radar for a while, right? I mean,
well, at first it was white or light colored.
Okay.
Now, when I'm driving around getting all my footage, I did a show where I went through a decent amount of my footage recently that I hadn't shown before. It was just different clips and things like that. And as you're driving through it, even in the route, I did the route of the PCA. Even driving through there, you notice the amount of white vehicles that exist in those two communities. It's easy when we're breaking down the camera angles, like at the A&W. I don't know how you even get below a door on that camera from A&W when it comes to the roof that's above the pumps. Then it switches to a small area, and then you have bushes from the waist down. And so if you're getting a clear image, I don't know how you even get an image stating that that's the car that was part of the crime based off the different angles. So when it comes to this footage, the white light colored vehicle is pretty general. And honestly, being there myself, that was the predominant vehicle, was a white truck, car, van, you name it. And then with sorry, I lost my train of thought. The shit.
Probably me saying, like, how long, when she went to law enforcement, when did they announce they were looking for a white or light colored vehicle? Was it pretty quickly?
It was right away, but they had first came out with that's what I was going to say. They first came out with the 2019 to 2023 Nissan Sentra.
Okay.
December 7th is their official press release that they came out for the white Hyundai Elantra, 2011 to 2013, December 7th. So for the people out there that are claiming that he was being followed and he was in LE's sights on the end of November, it's not true, because the tip didn't even come in from the private driver for them to get to BK's vehicle until after the 7th, when the tip came out, because that's when the private driver started looking, and he wrote down 13 to 14 vehicles in a couple day span, and then turned in the tips to LE. So and then also there was not even another press release about the vehicle changing from a 2011 to a 2013 until the arrest, and then that's when it was a 2011 to a 2016. But if anybody wants the article, I do have the article in the New York Times that states back in January that LE was looking for a 2019 to 2023 Sentra.
Okay.
Yep. December 7th to the 10th is when that private driver was getting tips and then turned them in.
Okay.
So when we would hear stuff like that, we just presume that because nobody else really had a dog over there. So we just presume maybe it couldn't have not been Murphy, but I just assumed that it was because I know when Ethan was over there and like he was able to, he would at night when they would let the dog out, he would call for the dog too.
Well, and I want to answer this real quick before we continue. Yeah, there was people that showed up at 11:29. But the tip that the private driver gave to LE was the tip that tipped them to Coburger. So it was another white vehicle. It was a white vehicle. Oh, bushy eyes, but they were still, because December 7th was the first time that they came out with the 2011 to the 2013 Elantra. So that's why, and then you combine the fact with they're not going to let somebody that was able to commit this brutality to 4 different people, they're not going to let that person travel from one side of the United States to the other to then put all those families and children at risk to have the same thing happen to them. So you put those two together.
Can I ask a legal question though while we bring that up? Because I've heard that as well before. So they wouldn't want to put all those families in danger, but don't they run the risk of if they can't arrest them until they built the case completely, correct? Or you maybe Gia, this is the right question for you, because I'm not sure. Like, at what point, like, if you're gonna let a multiple unaliver roam free while you build a case, like, what do? Do you just let them roam free, or can you put them in a protective custody? Or I mean, my impression is once you arrest, that's it. Like, you've had to have collected all your evidence and built your case already.
They could have brought him in though too before he left.
I don't think. Well, according to the FBI, they were not following him across the country. I don't know if I believe that. They said that the 2 stops were nothing to do with him. Both stops were in Indiana. They were like 8 minutes apart or something for tailgating. They claim that they were not following him at that point, but I don't know. Now, what I would say about you, and honestly, I'm not a legal expert. I just have a background. I'm paralegal, so I have legal information, right? Not legal. But if you arrest too quickly and that evidence gets thrown out, then, and you bring charges too quickly and then they get off, you can't try again for the same crime because it's double jeopardy. So I think they have to be very careful. But I think if they really thought that somebody they knew in their minds, right, like they think that this is the guy, then they would have found a reason to stop him and bring him in for something.
Because he didn't leave to go back home until the middle of December. That was a week after the car came out that the driver tipped in.
Yeah, and they said that trip had been planned for months. His father, that was already in the works, so it wasn't like he was like, oh, I better get out of Dodge.
Yeah, and it's like this. You have to think about it. I'm not saying they would have charged him with the crime. What I'm saying is if he was on their radar, even the week during the vehicle description came out and when he left, they would have figured out a way to not let him leave.
Definitely.
They would have had something happen, roadblock, you got a tail light out, something would have taken place to where they wouldn't have let him know that they were onto him.
Right.
They would have stopped him from.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. And that's just where I'm coming from with it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been wondering about that for a while. I'm glad it came up. Thank you. Both of you.
No, thank both of you for being on here. I appreciate it.
So
gotcha. So
it was like the dog was everybody owned the dog in the house. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody.
Yeah, no, I get it.
They were
that's a lot. In a house like that makes sense. So did you knew Dylan per se? You said, like, did she ever talk about her relationship with Kaylee and Maddie and Xana and all them?
Yeah, she said that they all got along really well. There was a couple of times where they kind of they just had they had their own little personal problems, because when you live with people that close together and everybody hears and sees everything, you know, and it becomes like a little dramatic because, you know everything. You know when somebody goes to the bathroom, you know what their classes are like. You really get to know everything about their life. So, when you live with people like that, it's very easy to develop patterns, and I think sometimes they butt heads because, Dylan would ask, like, hey, you normally come home at this time. Are you okay? And it's like, it's not her business, but she knows how that goes, and then, somebody would feel like, oh, you're infringing on, what I'm doing for the night. So I think, like, other than that, they get along pretty well from what I know.
Yeah. Were you in a sorority too, or no?
No.
Okay. That's probably smart. I don't know anybody.
Yeah, I would never get into that because it was so much drama. I'm so glad I never did,
Right.
How long were you friends with DM?
I want to say a little under 2 years.
Yeah. Why do you think there's some people blaming her for these crimes?
Well, Dylan was she was mischievous and she had like a wild side to her, and she made mistakes, but she also had like a serious side that was like committed to her education, but she also had a side where she was kind of reckless. She experimented with drugs like we all did, and she always,
we know her her background.
Yeah, she always craved attention for men, like guys that were bad, like the bad boys.
Yeah.
She never wanted to be with a guy that wanted to treat her right. She wanted to be with a guy that was like, a thug.
Bad boy.
Yeah. So like when she would get involved in that, she had her little sprees and stuff like that. And, I would try to, kind of say like, hey, I know you're trying to get with this guy, but just try to just focus on living your life, and she was very obstinate. She didn't always want to listen, but for the most part, she was a pretty decent friend, She was a pretty decent friend.
Why do you think she didn't call?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Right away.
She wouldn't call.
Well,
have you spoken with her?
Well, what I can say, I have to be very careful what I say, but what I can say is there was a story that was presented to her that
she's standing outside at 8:30 in the morning, according to you. So why is she standing outside smoking or hanging out with people?
I don't know. I have no idea.
That's my question.
What was the story that was presented to her?
Right. I don't know what. Well, one of the things I can say that she said was that all of the rooms, the doors were shut.
Did they all have locks on it?
And they all had locks, keypads, like numbered locks to them. So, with her, she said that by all accounts, normally that is how she would wake up and see things would be locked doors.
You're saying that she wouldn't. You're saying that DM wouldn't have noticed, because if you look at the statement in the PCA, she's stating that she saw some dude clad in black.
Yeah.
And then you're telling me that when those crimes took place,
she ran downstairs.
4 hours later, and you're outside hanging out with people like shit didn't even happen, and you don't even know that shit happened.
Right.
That's really odd.
She said that she did not state that about.
No, I'm saying if you're hanging. Oh, she's saying she did not state.
She never made that statement.
Like what she's saying is like when she went through the run through of the night, like she was told things, and like she kind of like, well, maybe that's true. She was drunk and she had smoked weed. And I think she did a little bit of Molly, so she was definitely under the influence. She said that like that morning that she still had the residuals, but when they had talked to her and they kind of were giving her this like kind of thing of like, you know, we know that you've seen this person, or there's this, and like she kind of honestly just like under pressure went
along with her story.
not necessarily like was like, oh yeah, that's 100% true, but like even when she would say no, I didn't see, they'd say like, oh, but did you see a figure? And she said, well, I did see a figure, and they'd say
So
like,
they gave her a scripted statement and she went along with it.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
well, they
they were
just kept
portraying her.
antagonizing her. Yeah.
Hold on. So you're saying, so Dylan told you this?
She said specifically like that they antagonized her, that they had like repeatedly over and over again like pushed something, and she kind of like in her head she said, I almost wanted to believe that maybe what they were saying is true, you know. So she kind
Well,
of
I mean, I'm not saying that it's not,
Dylan
because
told
we've all
you.
kind of had a, hold on one second, everybody. Hold on. What I'm not saying what you're saying isn't true, okay? Because we've all kind of felt that way in one way or another. What I'm asking you is, you're saying that DM is stating that what she gave in the statement to the PCA isn't 100?
no, it's not. No.
That's
So
what
it was
Yeah,
a
I'm saying
coercion.
that
you're saying.
100%.
DM told you that?
That's not like the whole thing about seeing somebody with bushy eyebrows and all black. She said that's never anything that she ever volunteered.
Will you
or
do me a
said.
favor? Will you do me a
All right, I'm going to pause that real quick
Yeah,
because it's another good pause. Again, you have a witness claiming that they have first-hand knowledge spoken to from a witness in the PCA stating that the statement in the PCA is wrong. Again, they should have been in some penthouse suite as soon as Taylor got a call. What do you guys think? It's just something else that's just like, whoa.
I mean, this is the one time where it's hard for, in the back. I hate to say absolutes or no, or write anything off or debunk anything until I actually see the evidence of the case when things aren't sealed. But that's pretty hard for me to swallow when I'm listening to the story, because at that point, why would Dylan have anything to be fed from the police? There's nothing to feed her. It doesn't make any sense. I could see if she was trying to emphasize parts that Dylan might be trying to leave out. Now that's another thing.
Right.
But saying that they were giving her information when they had nothing and would have. Yeah. So anyway, that's my immediate reaction to that.
That was being told from a witness in the PCA. It wasn't a my friend told me, DM said this. No, it was her, he stating, Dylan told me this, like straight from one person to another. That is a straight up witness statement that is legitimate in the trial. It's firsthand. It's not hearsay. So yeah, it was another point where it's like, okay, so now I'm getting into the point. This is a conversation where we're talking about who all did you call, this and that. So you're a little bit more of this here.
me a favor? Because so nobody's contacted you back.
No.
Okay. Will you do me a favor? Will you contact somebody? And I'm not trying to get your personal information, all right? But you have your personal information. I think you need to contact the authorities and tell them about the PCA statement, and also tell them about people hanging out damn near directly in between from when the crime took place, according to LE, until when LE was 911 call at
I would try
11:50.
the FBI.
Well,
I think you need to contact
say
somebody
this.
because
I have been in contact with Ann Taylor,
okay.
her team of people, and I gave her my friend gave her the Instagram, the 22 minutes of that night, and I've been in contact with her, and everything that I've expressed right now, I've expressed to Anne. We haven't really divulged on like getting deeper and deeper into it, but I've expressed these things to her, and she wants me to
but
she wants me to actually
reporter?
physically go there to where I was and to show where I was in that time frame and what angle of things that I've seen, and I've been terrified to do so because I'm worried that somebody's going to be filming and they're going to film me and see me. She said we could do it at really late at night.
Yeah, but you can call the LE. You can
Well,
call them.
what she's saying is she doesn't want to be seen.
If you decide to contact the feds, you got to record the call. Tell them they're being recorded, and ask them to identify who you're speaking to. You know.
I mean, because that's some heavy shit, and that's
Yeah,
some important shit.
You can wear like a disguise if you're going to do it like that, a wig and something over your face and glasses, so people don't recognize you, hon. That way, you can actually do this because this is really important. It really needs to be.
Or just show her on Google Maps. Show her on Google Maps the placement. That's what they're going to do it themselves.
Especially
and I know people say like, well, why would you give this information? And honestly, I've been comfortable giving the information because there's so much speculation. 90% of the people don't believe me anyway.
Right.
Even like, and I'm being real when I say this right now, there are so many people that aren't even going to believe me. So that works to my advantage. Even though I've seen what I've seen, there's a lot of people that will discredit me or say, no, you weren't there, this, that, and the other. There's so much more that I do know, and things that have gone on, but it's like telling my side. I get a couple of people that believe me, and there's a lot of people that don't. And I understand.
I'm not saying I don't believe you, because everything can exist until I know it's proven 100 either way. But what I'm saying is if you looked out your window at 8:30 in the morning and you saw 5 people, one of them including DM and one of them was D.
Yeah, I was on the balcony, to be specific. Like,
you know what I mean? Like
the part,
that's important right there because hello, like they're standing out there like nothing took place, and this is 4 hours,
I was out like
3.5 before LE's contacted, and then also the statement with the PCA. The PCA is what was used to arrest BK.
Right,
the PCA
that's why it's so
was used to do all this stuff, and if you're saying that DM told you what she told you about her statement with the PCA, that puts all of this in question. Everything that took place from the arrest all the way up to today.
Yeah.
It's always been a question.
And also the fact that I
saying?
don't know if people are aware of the fact that
you got to contact somebody.
There were at least 2 of the people, they were mutilated. I don't know what I can say. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on a YouTube
well, if you're
channel.
but if you're talking to Ann,
but I can say that they were. It was not like somebody had a butcher knife or anything like that. Like the wounds were equivalent to something that was much like huge gaping wounds.
How would she know that?
Not
maybe a machete,
a katana,
not a knife going into I'm talking.
I'll go ahead and pause it again.
Yeah.
Like I said, if somebody has information, a direct statement that the PCA witness statement, and that it's not true, that's the statement that notices the bushy eyebrows, the figure, the size, the sex, and if that is not true, Ann Taylor would have busted the hell out of that PCA, and Brian Koberger wouldn't be sitting in jail. That's
No.
just my opinion. Because if you take away that, what? Okay, you got a button snap on the sheath that has DNA inside the most protected part of the sheath itself, which who knows how long it can last in the most protected part of the sheath. So, it's crazy.
Yeah, one of the things that doesn't make sense to me too is that in these types of cases, the witnesses don't go right to the prosecution or the defense, right? In this case, so they'd be processed through law enforcement. It would be really unusual because can you imagine how many people are probably trying to reach out to Ann Taylor? Crazies, non-crazies, all of the people. This is sensationalized.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like Dot is not going to have a direct line to Ann Taylor or her team, right? Especially if law enforcement is going, well, we don't find you credible. We're not taking you seriously. If they thought there was anything to what she had to say, that would be being fed right up through the FBI, right to the prosecution, right to the defense. I mean, this would all be shared information. I doubt if I picked up the phone today to call Ann Taylor, she's going to take my call.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what I say, I know, right? Because that's not her job. Her job isn't to weed through tips.
Right.
That's the job of law enforcement. And now if someone came forth and they had really good information and law enforcement was like, look, we find this very credible, that's going to go up the chain. That's going to be something the defense wants to hear about. That's going to be something the prosecution wants to hear about. Just think about a tip line, even in a case not like this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many do they have to weed through?
And even Enon was under a gag order for a short period of time, and he didn't know shit.
But they thought he might, right?
Yeah, right.
She's already been
cleared
and like, okay.
He didn't know nothing except for a suspicious vehicle.
Well, and also, like, nothing she says is it's almost like she keeps saying something so that it's important. Okay, finally she says something like, well, this Dylan contradicted what was said wow, well then that's huge to your point, right? Someone is going to pay attention to that. But it was almost like, well, everything else I'm saying, I'm throwing things against the wall to see if they stick, and nobody's like biting. So now I'm going to say this, right? And so I don't know. Again, I just go back to, and it's just my opinion, I don't find her credible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb there either.
No. And like when it comes to, there were some questions. Like if you notice me, I'm just kind of chilling back and I'm just like, okay, how do I this is all like on the fly. What are we going to do here next? Because now she's stated that the PCA is not the real statement. So now I'm in the mode like, okay, now dots start to bring up more confetti, the brutality of the attacks and the wounds, right?
Well, how does she know the wounds were how would she know that? Nobody knows that.
She says after this that Hunter told her, and that's how she knew. One thing that keeps coming to me now that I hear this again is she says that she doesn't want to go back out to show Ann Taylor because she's afraid somebody will spot her. So anybody who has that kind of concern is very doubtful, even with a voice recorder, because of the details they're telling, the name of the game they were playing, what time that person ran out for beer, all these identifiers to who they were, is very doubtful that they'd be telling the story on multiple live streams if their concern is that somebody might identify them or see that they're spotting illegal activity. they've said enough identifying factors of where they were that night, what they were doing,
Where
and
they live.
it would have been pretty easy to figure out who the person was. So I just
then nobody would care. Nobody would care. What does she think anyone's going to care about her identity anyway? And to the point you said, if you're that worried, they have wonderful disguises and prosthetics, and you don't have to. But I really don't think that's her own paranoia. But okay.
And I've showed everybody how dark it is back there. I'm sorry, Ann Taylor's not going to have you meet at night. It's already too dangerous out there for anybody.
The veil of darkness and escorted by Ann Taylor. I don't think so. No.
Yeah, right. So now it's getting to the part where it's more brutality and more, I just told you this. Now you're starting to question why I haven't contacted anybody when it comes to this. And I'm starting to put the pressure on her. Now she's trying to get some of the other people on panel. Here, let me get these guys back in, because everybody in chat at this point, there were some people in chat on the stream that were like, yeah, CJ's BS meter is way the hell up here now. And I think Dot realized that at that point, because I couldn't hold it in anymore. I just couldn't.
Blame you. And I was waiting for you to go, listen, okay, you've contacted local law enforcement. You keep saying if they're not paying attention to you and you really think you have some stuff here, then you call the FBI tip line. Like, don't stop. Keep going until somebody listens to you.
Yeah. I mean, and we even get to the point, and at the end, I'm like, look, if you can't commit to me that you're going to contact somebody about this information, I'm going to. That's just how it was. And I gave that person a day to send me an email letting me know that they contacted authorities, and I went ahead and did it myself the next day. Because I'm not doing it. Just like when people are putting these videos out about this green car of this lady that lives at Queen Road Apartments, and somebody saw it on a demo and it's suspicious. I'm worried about the lady because that's the lady I parked next to the whole week I was there. So I even contacted Moscow PD and asked them, hey, can you do me a favor? There's videos out on YouTube that are saying this vehicle's suspicious.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. While you're driving by on your route, swing through that parking lot just to make sure everybody's safe. Because with that footage, it is so dark back there. And, there's nutballs out there. It's crazy.
Yes, there are. Yep.
So, all right. Now, we just have, I think, maybe 15 or 20 minutes or so of the conversation here. Not much longer.
Like, if you think about being a hunter and if you think about a deer and all that, if you can go through that process in your head, like it was to that equivalent, if not worse, like gaping wounds. So it's not just like a stabbing situation. It was really
something dramatic to change
very
the subject.
Sinister.
How do you know that? How do you know that? If I
well, I know from Dylan.
Okay, she told you what they looked like. Okay, I got you.
So she told me from what Hunter knew. So
have you talked to Hunter? Do you know Hunter Junction?
I haven't talked to him at all. I never really knew him, but she told me from what on that morning. She said that it was.
I don't know. Like, you need to contact somebody seriously.
I did. I have reached out to the proper people.
FBI? How about the FBI?
How are they not taking you seriously? Then
they're not.
This is some important stuff. But this is
a good way to this is a good way to put it out there and go public.
Yeah, and I've talked to them.
So you said you have talked to the FBI too?
I have talked with anybody and everybody that I can talk to that would hear my story, that could do anything for that. I have spoken. I have shown, that I was at the apartment that night. I have shown documentations that I was a student there. I have given proof, and despite
I also asked for that person. I just want to make that clear.
doing that, I still don't feel like they
I gave
have
this
taken me
person every
seriously
opportunity.
because nothing has happened from that. I mean, they've listened to me, but nobody has like looked at other evidence or anything. They're just going with this like Brian situation, you
Let
know?
me ask you this. Do you think
Hold on
Brian
one
is
second,
involved?
Dago. I got to address something in chat here real quick. Okay, she called Ann Taylor. How is she going to get hurt by us asking her these questions, or by anybody telling her she needs to contact Ellie with the information that she's talking about? What are you talking about, Mystic?
Those are just haters and disinformants and people.
How is anybody going to get hurt?
More people are going to get hurt if she doesn't come out with it.
I was just asking if you thought Brian was responsible, Dot. That's all.
No.
Okay.
So
Not
then
in
why
any
wouldn't
way,
you go
shape,
to
or
Ellie
form
even
that
more?
I ever think that he was, and I still don't, because I know like I was somebody that did drugs like a lot of my friends did, and there was a lot of things with drugs related in the area, and there was a lot of animosity towards a whole different type of stuff that went on with that. So I personally think my personal opinion, that it had something to do with Kaylee leaving and them not being happy with her leaving because she still had to continue what they asked her to do in regards to the drug situation. They were very upset that she was going to leave and move away and not be a part of it anymore. That's kind of where I think some of it transpired. But that's
So you think she was the target? The initial
I
target?
think they were mad. Yeah, I think they were really mad. They found out she was going to be there that night when she, and they were really mad because she was going to be going away and she was a part of helping them, and aiding in their efforts. And so she was really moving away was a big thing for them.
So if that makes sense, I guess, if you put it that way. So if she was target per se, why do you think that Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were attacked as well?
I think that the individuals that did it, because I think it was definitely more than one person, but I think that they didn't want to make it obvious, and by just one person, it would really make it would really pinpoint. I think that they had to have other collateral people to make it seem like it was not specifically for Kaylee, but there was a lot of stuff that was going on with the frat and Jack, and there was drama. There was so many different things it could be a possibility, but none of them that ever came to my mind was Brian ever, because I never had seen him. After all the stuff came out, I remember that Brent, Kolpaka, and them, I thought that I had remembered seeing them together, but never by the house.
Who together? Brent with who?
So when
just Brent and Brian together.
Brent and Brian together. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But never by the house. But once they had released that information, I thought, I'm like, that looks familiar.
So
but
you've seen Brent and Brian together before?
I thought I did, but I mean, I don't know if it's
when was the last time you contacted Ellie about the stuff that you've been talking about tonight?
I'm right back
Probably
to it.
4 weeks ago, and they pretty much said that they have all the information that they need.
So
you recorded
So you knew this. You knew this when all this shit went down on 11/13 of 22, and you contacted Ellie 4 weeks ago.
No. I contacted them When all the
But-
stuff went down, I contacted them a couple weeks after all of
Okay.
it went down. The first time.
So they didn't contact. Okay, what I'm trying to get to is because you said that they didn't take you seriously, right?
Right.
Okay, so when you first contacted them, that's when they didn't take you seriously. And when you contacted them 4 weeks ago, they didn't take you seriously.
No, when I specifically talked with the individual that said that they were gonna relay it to one of the detectives, they said they said we appreciate leads and stuff, but that they kind of already had what they needed and they didn't really need any further information.
That's
I asked-
crazy.
Yeah,
That's
their agenda.
crazy.
Did you
And
record any of these calls by any
the-
chance?
hold on one second. I have a couple more questions here because I haven't really been able to ask too many. So BK, so you're saying earlier you said you never even seen BK before.
Bingo.
Right.
When we were asking you about him
Yeah.
being, and being part of the crime. But now you say that you might have seen him with Brett Kopaka just a
Well,
minute
I
ago.
never had seen him, but once they released like the breaking news, I never even knew who that person was. But once they released the breaking news, and I was able to see his picture on the breaking news, I'm like, oh, that kind of looks similar to somebody that was like in the downtown area.
Yeah, but that's what Dago had asked you a little while ago, was that when BK was arrested, did you guys even know or see him before?
Oh, I must have
And
misheard.
when you first would have seen BK would have been the breaking news that he was arrested. And
Yeah.
so that's when.
But I'm not sure if it was him. I
know,
thought
I know
maybe,
you're
if
not
you know what I
saying
mean.
that, but
Like,
you
yeah.
just made a comment that you said that you thought that you thought that him and BK were standing together, and it struck me and kind of caught me off guard because when Dago had asked you earlier about when BK was arrested, if you guys had seen or heard of him, and you said no, you never seen him before. Well, that would be the same time of period that you noticed when he was arrested for the breaking news. And
Right.
that would be
Right.
the time when you would have thought back that you did see him.
Right, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So that's what,
Yeah.
you know what I
get
mean?
what you're saying.
And
yeah.
and with LE, I don't understand it when it comes to the PCA statement of what you're saying that DM told you about her PCA statement, and then the fact that they're standing outside nonchalantly in the middle of when the crimes took place to when LE was called. I'm not saying things don't get covered up. I'm not saying that, shit don't get down, because that's what
Right.
we kind of talk about. But at the same time, you got some heavy shit, and I don't see how people are gonna describe, you know what I mean? Especially LE. I don't, because I'm sorry, that's some pretty heavy shit. You're almost as important a witness as the people that were inside the property when you saw people standing out there at 8:30 in the morning, and you're telling me that DM stated what she stated about the PCA. You're just as important. So I don't understand why LE's not taking you more serious, and I don't understand why Ann Taylor didn't tell you to be quiet if you're talking to Ann Taylor.
Well, what I can say is because I was intoxicated and all that
So?
stuff, they really kind of threw that out when, like, I expressed to them, like, we were all drunk, a lot of us were high, and I was very honest with them.
It doesn't
and,
matter though. It's a statement. You're telling
Yeah.
people that you told me that you saw you saw D standing there with that group.
Yes.
You told me that you saw DM standing there with that group. I don't see how LE isn't going to take that seriously when DM stated she never came out of her frickin' room until they called the 911 call at 11:58. That's a straight up frickin' lie. And the PCA is supposed to be 100. So I don't understand how nobody's taking that seriously, and I don't understand why Ann Taylor isn't telling you to be quiet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I
Like this
understand.
is.
And you were
I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I'm saying
And it's
this,
really hard. It's
it
really
is
hard. Like,
very.
especially like reading the comments, like it's really hard to list, like to hear people say these, like say things, and to it's really difficult. It's really difficult to, you know, hear people, you know, just think, you know, that I would make something. I don't want to be involved with any of this. I never wanted to be affiliated with any of this. And, you know, I
But
was the
you are by
person,
joining a panel. You know what I'm saying?
right? But
You are involving yourself when you join the panel.
she's doing it by
Especially with-
morality. But
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. That'll be the end of that part. If you want to watch the whole episode again, because really it's just the same thing being said over and over and over. So really, it's just you can watch the whole thing there with the link. What did you guys think about that part when I started to put some of the pressure on when it came to the whole story? And
It's funny because it's like how quickly she went to, but I mean, we were all drinking and as everyone was saying in the comments too, that's the first thing that stuck out. She was so adamant in the beginning, like, look, I would say myself and about 50% of the people I know, we've never even seen Brian Kohlberger, never heard of him. He has nothing to do with anybody, da 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 da. And then all of a sudden she's like, I think I might have seen him with, how did you see a person you've never laid eyes on before with, I'm sorry.
yeah,
And then when you press too much, it's like, well, we were all drinking. And I mean, we were smoking weed too, and
right.
other things. And so, you know.
Easy outs. When I took what she was stating from the beginning to then as it started to differ a little bit, like you stated when you joined the show, things start to change as you tell the same thing over and over. And so when at the end, it's like, okay, I got you with this contradiction and this contradiction, this statement, which there's no way you would be out in public talking on YouTube, all of these different things. And as I'm getting to that information right there at the end, like I was smoking,
Well,
you know, and
especially like,
drinking.
right, like I think Ann Taylor would be telling you to be quiet if this was really the case. You know, not say like, see how many YouTube, you know,
Yeah, go run
channels
around.
you can run around, say whatever you want. This will be helpful to us. Not really.
No, because especially like, you know, and then saying that you didn't even want to be involved and you didn't want to be in any part of it. Well, that's when you reach out, even if it is, if you think Ellie is corrupt, which I'm not saying they're not. That's why we talk about what we do. DOJ, because the DOJ is going to handle it. And if the DOJ don't handle it, then, you know, we're all in like Flint. But
Yeah. And let's face it, right? If this was the truth and there was some substance and credibility to this, somebody if you don't think there are people that are monitoring all of these channels and monitoring everything for information, think again. And there's people in law enforcement that are looking at this. They know of Dot. They've heard her story. And if they're not reaching out to her, there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
And we may not know what it is, but I think we're guessing, and it's a credibility issue, in
Right.
my opinion. And, you know.
No, it's true. And I even think the family members watch our shows, and that's why it's so important that
keep it
right, respectful, and always be about the truth and justice. Because, you know, if I was a family member in that same position, I'd probably be watching YouTube shows too. I'm just being honest.
I would too. And like I say, it's fair to listen to her, and it's fair to try to. And the purpose isn't to try to say this is absolute. The purpose is to get to the truth of what everybody's saying. And if there are some nuggets of truth, and I do believe some of the things she's saying, there's like truth in it, but it's just kind of weaving a story together that I'm not sure all happened on the same day or the, you know. And when she says, "Why would I be doing this?" I don't know. Why are you?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because you should.
Why did you push so hard to get on my panel?
But you're not pushing to get to law enforcement, right? So it's pushing in the wrong way. Like if what you have is really going to help somebody, then you need to go to the source. And okay, if no one's listening, then you come to places like this and you say, I need this platform because I'm not being heard. And, you know, a lot of times things are picked up on these type of shows and platforms. And so,
I mean, even with the Gabby Petito case, there was Red, White, and Bethune, I think was the YouTube channel that caught Gabby Petito's van. And then that broke, you know, and all of a sudden Ellie knew right where to look. So yeah,
many
these
eyes.
things, right. Yeah, it's all over the place.
I wanted to say, CJ, I thought
Yeah.
that last line of questioning was just great and spot on. I just wanted to give you some credit
you.
for how well you did. And that's a difficult situation because at that point, you can tell she's kind of exhausted, mentally exhausted, and just throwing out whatever, you know. Anyway, I wanted to say that. And I also wanted to say, along your point, Gia, that if she had spoken to Ann Taylor, the last thing they're going to tell her to do is, okay, go on to YouTube, go on to as many live streams as possible and see how many people you can get on your side. Because honestly, although we are a big community, we're just a drop in the bucket, just even on YouTube, not even in the world. Like it's just, and, but my biggest red flag, I'd say, in the last, you know, segment that we just watched was when she said, when they asked if you thought Brian did it, and she said, absolutely not. Like, what does her story or anything she's saying have to do with that? Like, how would she know if Brian was implicated or not? It makes no sense why she would say no.
I agree with you on that.
It just doesn't, it takes almost all of her credibility away.
And you would have,
say if it was the cartel, let's just say it was de-related. How would she know Brian's not involved in that? And we know Brian has a history of that. So I don't understand how the puzzle piece would just absolutely. So anyway, those are
I don't know. I think like I was intrigued when she brought up that drug angle, because not that I think that's how it would have gone down necessarily, but I think that angle exists. I think there may have been something going on in the house where maybe it was a place where people could go buy or broker some deals. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to go there, but I think there is some truth to that. And that maybe there was simultaneously two things going on at that house that night, right? That ended up, I don't know. It's all going to come out in the trial, but I think we're going to hear about something with that's drug related in this house. There'll be testimony to it at least.
Yeah, I can't wait for the trial.
Right.
And
even to introduce doubt to the jury, like what I always say is, you don't have to prove another theory. You just have to introduce it. So
reasonable doubt. That's all you need. Another possibility could have taken place. And I think one of the strongest points at the end was, if you know, after stating what you did about people being outside, halfway in between, if you're being told from the witness themselves that the witness statement isn't true, and when it's looking at, you're telling me that BK's 100% not guilty of the crime, if you didn't have motivation to go to LE based off of DM's witness statement, the fact that you stated that you feel that BK is absolutely innocent, that would be all the motivation you need, because this conversation took place July 31st. It wasn't too much longer. There was a DP. And you already know. I mean, let's be honest. You got 4 victims. The brutality, it's almost hand in hand with this kind of crime, what they're going to be going after. So I just thought that was very interesting. If you feel and you know that BK is guilty, well, then where is your other motivation to go to LE this whole time, the day that he was arrested?
Right.
From then, where was your motivation to go? You know what? Even if DM lied to me, I know this guy's not guilty. there, I don't know what other motivation you would need as another
Right.
human being.
I agree. Although she didn't know him at all, but she knows he's not guilty.
Just
But-
as a human, yeah.
Right.
But
As a human.
okay, yeah.
You
But
know,
if there's any chance that someone's not guilty, right? I'm sorry.
No. What were you? I didn't mean to cut
I was
you
just
off.
saying, there's any chance that someone may not be guilty and you have information that could exonerate them or possibly, then it's your duty as a human being and a citizen in this country and our legal system is to make sure you're heard by law enforcement. Even if they're telling you, I find it hard to believe, like, don't worry, we've got everything we need. Are you kidding? In an ongoing investigation, that they would never say that.
And if they're trying to cover it up, let's be honest, we know what happens in cover-ups too. And there would have been something. They would have made sure you're not on YouTube talking. If it was a
Right.
cover-up, something with the cover-up would have happened. Like,
Right.
I don't know. There was just so many, powerful, flashy things that were being stated. And I tried as best as I could, but it just got to the point
you
where
did
I
a
was
great
like,
job of setting up the stage, setting up the scenario, letting her speak, unraveling it for everyone kind of see, and then pulling it back where then she just sort of started to dig her own grave, right? And then it was, I'm not saying easy, but then all you had to do was start pointing out her inconsistencies or pushing back a little to say, I'm not letting you off that easily. I asked you, why didn't you go to law enforcement? You got to do better than that. Not just like, oh, well, I spoke to him 4 weeks ago and I never heard from anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you both for the kind words. I really appreciate it.
I wanted to point out one other point that we brought up in our last live stream that I think is kind of gets escaped. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this as well, CJ, which is from following this case from the beginning, I heard on multiple occasions, on multiple platforms from LE, that they were telling the children, the young adults there, to give us your data, give us your photographs from that night, and we're not interested in busting you for anything deviated.
Right.
You're exempt. We want to catch the quadruple unaliver. So to me, like, that was publicly stated that they weren't going to get in trouble if they just helped the police and showed them their data. So I think of that, like any young person in the area who was involved in activities would have heard that. And then just to your point, both of your points, you're going to let an innocent man rot in prison for his sentencing. But on the flip side of that, that's actually withholding evidence as a crime as well.
Right.
It's not,
Yeah,
it's
you're
not
right.
exempt from. So
Right.
there's so many layers to that part.
Well, right. And if the LE was asking all of the kids in the area, listen, we're really interested in everything, not only what you have to say, but what's on your phones. And, and she said she had a 22-minute Instagram video, but now is in the hands of Ann Taylor. That wouldn't go to Ann Taylor. That's not the proper way to handle evidence. I mean, that would.
Right. That wouldn't be evidence if we went
get evidence from, there's like no chain of command there, right? So that didn't make sense. But it would make more sense that they would want to hear what she had to say because they're asking for this. Not poo-poo it and say, yeah, you know what, we did, but we heard from 20 people. That's enough.
And to not even get a business card, which then you can go, yeah, I talked to so and so. I even asked Dot.
Right.
You didn't even remember the nameplate on the desk when
And
you
if
went
you
in.
walk into the Moscow Police Department and you say, I have information on the Brian Kohlberger case, they're not going to say, yeah, we don't have time for you right now, or there's someone there that's going to speak to you.
They didn't know nothing.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't know nothing with the substance angle. I didn't realize this until I went there myself. In Washington State, so right by the border, if you look up the border between where it switches from Washington to Idaho on 270, shortly to the left in Washington State, there is a dispensary there. So that would be something that would be definitely easy from Washington State because they check your IDs when you go in. Nobody from Moscow, I'm sure LE had a list. Nobody from Moscow is going to be going over there because who wants to be tied directly going to that dispensary? So in my mind, the reason that they were putting that out there is because who's to say somebody on the Washington side didn't go to it and then meet everybody at Walmart just a couple minutes across the state border. And maybe that's why they were telling people, hey, even if you were getting some of this stuff, it's not, they know that they were talking. They know that there was social media. That's why they wanted them phones. But how much are you going to collect when you tell all the students to go home?
Excuse me.
You send everybody home. So how can you even collect information if you're already telling people to go home and be with their families?
One of many things.
Oh, you're on mute, Gia.
Sorry, because my son just came down and he's making something in the microwave. I'm like, I better shut off my microphone. Anyway, I don't even know what I was.
Yeah. I think you've done such a good job presenting everything for everyone to just get a good, fresh take on this after all the things we've been, all the information we've been collecting on my channel for the past few days. I really appreciate you taking all the time to show us what knowledge that you have of this and really bringing this to light. I just really appreciate everything you're doing tonight, Jay. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you both for joining me. Honestly, I couldn't have had better guests to go through this than with you two, just because of you have that fresh knowledge of everything, and then I'm kind of mixing it with the old, and that's why I kind of was like, you know what, today I think let's play the whole thing, because I know that another version out there is out there that gets played a lot just because of the difference in the voice strength. So I was like, I think it's important to kind of just take an evening, let's sit back, let's listen to the whole conversation that's not edited, that's not clipped out, and have theatricals and stuff kind of added to it, because I mean it is compelling, trust me. And they do a great job editing, and it is a compelling story when you take the 15-20 minutes to watch that video. But that's one of the reasons why, because I was really originally going to take this down right after, but I just have to keep it up there because I need to make sure that people, it's always going to be available for somebody that does come across one of those, or that they can come back to this episode and really hear the whole conversation, especially the last part where I'm pointing out the contradictions and putting Dot on the spot, and you see it kind of crumble as it keeps going. So.
Well, it's part of the story. I don't think you should be taking this down. I mean, without a doubt, it's part of the story. And I mean, somebody could come back and try and bring up information that they heard on that, and you have it documented. And so I hope you do keep it up, because
I am.
It's part of history. It's part of this story, and people are going to have to reference it. And if it's not there, then people can't reference. Just like when I was looking for information on Dot, because so many people had taken things down, a lot of the voices that were cutting parts out were some of the strongest. So
it's a good point.
It's definitely worth it to have your voice up and not. So my take on it. But.
No, that's a very good point. It's a very good point.
It is, yeah. And I always like to go back. We do this, Kiki, a lot. Like, go back and revisit something, because with all of the new information we have from that point to now, sometimes re-listening to things makes more sense, right? On every, so it doesn't hurt. I mean, that's how you study for tests. That's how you do all kinds of, it's the repetitive re-listening, and you never know when you're going to hear something that's, wait a minute, that's not how I heard it last time. Or you have a guest on, or we're kind of bouncing it off you, CJ, and it's like to hear your perspective. It's just to think of something in a slightly different angle sometimes can give you all kinds of new information.
Yeah, or even open up doors for your own thoughts too. We're actually kind of doing that. We're going through an old episode from a couple weeks after the crime took place tomorrow, about the intoxicated person non-report from the Moose Lodge at 9:02 p.m. I think it was that
Oh.
night that it took place. If either you are available, you're more than welcome. Just reach out to me. I would love to have you on tomorrow. I'm going to be on 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. I'll be having Silky Southern Tea joining me, and you both are more than welcome if you're not busy.
Cool.
I'm going to be going back through that episode. Back then, I had somebody that hopped up on panel, had a lot of interesting information. I went through my old Twitter messages and I kind of collected everything that this person, because they just came on for a couple nights and back a couple weeks after the crime took place, and it was just a very interesting conversation. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're going to be listening to an old conversation with everything that we've learned since, and then taking that approach to see if there is something odd about it. So yeah, you both of you are more than welcome if you want.
Thank you.
Is that
but
in the
you-
morning or not AM or
Yeah, in the
PM?
morning. Yeah, I do
Well, I
two
thought you
shows.
said at night. I'm like, I might not.
Yeah, I do. I do two shows. I do one in the morning and at night. So just reach out to me. Let me know whatever's best for you, and we can definitely have a show about any of these topics. I thought, thank you so much for your time. I mean, it was a great, wonderful conversation. Everything that I kind of came to a conclusion about your approach and how you both have that mind about the truth and justice is all in fruition right here on the panel. And so I couldn't be any happier to say thank you. And I know the whole community loves you already. And anytime either one of you would like to hop up, anytime, you guys are always more than welcome.
Well, we appreciate that. That's excellent. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked how we all kind of put all of our thoughts and our minds together like that. I would love to do it about something else, some other topic, baby. We can dig into sometime, and all
Sure.
three of us can kind of go in together and just kind of give our own thoughts and go from there. But yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are
Okay.
definitely going to have your name etched in one of the chairs that's at this table, so it'll never go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. I hope you all have a peaceful and positive night, and I will see y'all tomorrow morning or tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Appreciate
Bye.
you.